I got some company. The lion and the tree was a bit moody, but once I get in the sun, it will be much better. Gotta be grateful, thankful. I'm not gonna go towards the mountain now, but we're gonna go towards the sun. SUN, towards the sun, rock and roll it is. Bill Gates' birthday, marching for the firefighters, witches, bakers, nurses, electricians, the plumbers, the doctors. Wish I could afford a massage therapy session. Any friends with benefits? Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. In the sun we go, let's see. In about 3, 2, 1 maybe now. Yeah, I feel it. There we go, now we're in the sun. That's all we got here. Bit of that good rock and roll. Always for the firefighters. Just gonna drop a little bit of garbage there. Yeah. And then we're gonna go left, right, and in the middle. See what the price of gas is. Goes up, goes down, let's see. 154, that's not bad, I guess. For those who are in that gas business. Still a bit more than it was, and still a bit on that rock and roll side of things. You know, we're gonna go check that fridge. It's 154. Yeah, that's pretty good compared to what it was, but it's bad from what it was even before 2020, right? It was not that good. 225. So it's Bill Gates' birthday today, so gonna be meditating, connecting with my parallel self. With computer science, right? Design, build supercomputers and ICBM rockets and microchips and all things scientific. All things scientific, you know. Here we are, always for the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, and the nurses, the doctors, the plumbers. Bill Gates, happy birthday. I'm too financially stressed to give anything else than happy birthday and an invitation to the mountain, Mount Royal. Today we're gonna march towards the sun, though. We're not gonna go to the mountain because in October, November, December, January, February, March, we don't go to the mountain. If it's past 3 o'clock, that's the principle. We go towards the sun. I'm mostly by the water. So since it's already 4:30 p.m. Look at those beauties there, see? Look at those. Look at those. They're on the go there. That's what it is with that. That's what we got. That's why we gotta get on that rock and roll, 24/7. For the firefighters, the butchers, the plumbers, the electricians, and beautiful black squirrel there. I feel much better. I was a bit moody, but stretched a bit. Did some YouTube work, and you know how it is with yours truly. It's 24/7 geopolitics, sports and fitness, rock and roll. And for another long march, yesterday did 4 hours and 20 minutes. Monday, today is Tuesday, 28th of October. And gonna march again more than any general of NATO on these toes. Look at that, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Just the sun is so powerful, you know. Gotta watch the car there, because you gotta turn your heads left or right, to cross the street prudently. And we got some voting going on here in Montreal. Although this is a one-way, so in theory they can only come from that side, right? Theoretically they can only come from that side. But of course it is possible that by mistake, if they're tourists and they don't know, then they might enter by the other side. So that is always something which can happen, which can occur, right? Like here when I cross the street now, see? If I cross the street now, gonna be sunny, so it's not always relegated, of course, to the position of where my crossing of the street is, where I calculate that velocity. Velocity is basically the speed, right? And the distance and the speed. So the fridge is empty, but I wish I could fill it up. But one day I'm just gonna fill the fridge up. That's for I got something in my left eye. And see here, we got a little bit of that drill, rock and roll, and I guess we're gonna march towards the sun. And the best way for me to get more sun is just to cross on the other side and I guess start marching. I just wanted to come. Oh wow, look at these beauties. Please don't pollute here. Aren't they just gorgeous? All of these are really beautiful, and that one also. And we got little flowers here. So that's really cool. I love having this little garden here. This little garden and these beautiful flowers. I guess gonna rock and roll. You know, so back towards the sun we go now. Turn my head left and right before I cross the street, and that's all we got, of course, in that drill for that rock and roll. And always for the firefighters, always for the butchers, always for the nurses, always for the plumbers, always for the electricians, you know. And now we're gonna go right into the S-U-N. Ah, yes, now I feel much better. This is much better, you know. So here we are, another journey special. Happy birthday, Bill Gates, inviting Bill Gates on for the banquet to establish the Imperial Democratic Republic for world peace by the law of Thelema. March to the mountain, you know. This 28th of October, who's Scorpion, Bill Gates, and connecting with my parallel self always. Now my parallel self sends me tens of thousands of pages of information on supercomputers, satellites, microchips, ICBM rockets, all things that are to do with gadgets and information IT work, and everything's technological and scientific related. And I send them my tens of thousands of rock and roll songs created over the past 11 plus years, since about 2014 spring summer 2014. So, and he gets headaches from those rock and roll songs, and I get headaches. So it's a reciprocal, you know. He gets headaches, I get headaches. We give each other headaches because he's a super scientist. So basically in that parallel timeline, I'm sort of a Bill Gates, you know. It is the year darkness 2029. It is December 24th, 2029. The year darkness 2029, circa December 24th. And now it's happy birthday, Bill Gates. I know you give some charity, give some more charity. Mayonnaise. We got those playing tonight, the NHL. I got my Habs hat on, and we're number one. Hey, we gotta be celebrating. I gotta post, and gotta say we're number one, numero uno. We're playing late tonight. Habs. I had for $1 million to give my anonymous friend a half for that $1 million, because you know she wasn't my friend because of the money, because I never had any, and supported in a ways. This independent N.A.C.W.P artist, athlete, philosopher, theoretical, honest, and enthusiast very greatly, you know. So I gotta be putting money where your mouth is in many ways, you know, because some of that blah after a while gets, I guess you gotta balance it by fucked on vorba, you know. It's just a Roman saying. It's a GTF, the Special Canadian Forces have that motto, as we in Canada had the motto in Latin, admire, mask, admire, and my brothers and sisters in the United States also. The motto is e pluribus unum. That's what we gotta do, fuse my way best, public private partnership, and to implement categorically the DRT, the debt refusion 2, which we're gonna discuss in a bit. And they're going on another strike, eh? We have a third strike here in the past 4 months. It's incredible, unprecedented, because they couldn't negotiate well. They got only offered half of what they were requesting, which is 25%. I'm referring to the public transit here system in Montreal, the STM, as I go on these toes. And, you know, love you, Bill Gates. I'm a fan, I want to learn. And, well, I got to apply the 4 steps protocol, get out of the way for my fellow auntie. I'm going to go there, actually. My fellow auntie to pass with her children, you know, safely. And I have a backpack, so I'm pretty wide on the steps, you know, and I'm marching on these steps. So that's what I see, children. That's why we take a little bit on that left and right there. Dynamic to be now, consequently, and involved in the safety and security of the individual and the self and the collective, you know. And price of gas went up a bit, 3 cents compared to 4 days ago. It's 154, eh? 154, so that's 3 cents, of course, increasing with that. So that's a little bit of an increase from what it was, and it's always up and down. But now, of course, my mind calculates about the percentage of the increase. In terms of my mind, of course, is automatic mathematical percentile calculation as it relates to the cost of living. So Gonna check a little bit of that a bit later, but now of course we know that 3 cents per 100, that's $3, right? So if somebody gassed today, they lost about $3 for 100 liters, or for 50 liters, $1.50, right? But that's from the micro level goes to the macro level. So if many got gas today compared to when it was 151, then at the macro level, it adds up to tens of thousands, right? But particularly these numbers exist co-equivalent now to taking every second of the step that I take towards the sun. These numbers exist, and now cars are spending money, right? Cars are now spending money, right? Correlatively, and of course integrally of the spending of the money of the cars, what we have now to be correlated in all the dynamics what we get now. So all that is to say, now that we have these co-relationships, we're in very tough economic times, eh? Myself included, very financially stressed. AC says a start here. It's interesting that it says that. It's rare, but it see that says India. So I guess that this metal or aluminum or iron, if it is, it says, I'm assuming it's made in India, right? Because it says India, Star India. So we gotta check that. Yes, I know this is a A.S.P. A.S.P.'s, we have peculiar traits, characteristics and traits, and these peculiar characteristics and traits make us odd, weird, and bizarre, you know? So we're odd, weird, and bizarre in those characteristics and traits, right? Not weird, we're weird, we can be weird, but we're not evil, demonic, or bad. It's just sometimes we focus on strange details. For example, see, I'll show you, see here, see, I'm assuming that VDM stands for in French Ville de Montréal, but they couldn't write it all because of maybe financial means of practicality, so they wrote VDM, stands for Ville de Montréal. It was Montreal Hawk Island, it says 1993. So 1993, 2025, that's 32 years, right about the time when the Habs won. Interestingly enough, it's when the Habs won, you know, when the Habs won. So of course, basically when the Habs won, right, the last time the Habs won, you know. So it is something which, of course, concomitantly we have to see. On this one, there's nothing. Well, imagine, all these sewers, these sewers are really much, pretty much help us to have the sanitation, We could think of all the work. It was civilization really is a privilege, as my thesis was in 2023 in February. That was the privilege of civilization, right? The privilege of civilization was, of course, concomitant what we have now, of course, to be in the relationship, you know. So, but civilization really is a privilege, and if you check, so that means that one there is 32 years old. When the Habs last one, it hasn't been replaced since. I guess that's still okay, but once it gets 40 and 50 years, we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of arbeit, eh? So go Habs, go tonight, give some charity, you know, the baseball players. I checked and actually counter equivalence. The baseball players make way more salaries. And I know yesterday was a peculiar long baseball because it's not the same. It goes with innings, and if you don't score, you're going to get those innings in it. But of course, that's something which I have to learn myself, because of course, to be honest, dancing is my favorite sport, and of course, besides the innings, I don't know. So that is just something where we have, of course, to be for the left and for the right, and in the middle, you know, my cousins here, aunties, and they're going on strike. STM are going on that strike, rock and roll, to be on the concomitantly, and to be that relationship so we have now, you know. You see the beauty of these trees, man. It's just, I love autumn, and it's so nice, and now I feel much better that I'm working out, you know. I gotta get like that drill, and you see they're playing a little bit of that football, gridiron drills, and they're training, and today I'm gonna march also for the youth, always including the youth. Youth sports is important, organized sports is important, and all those concomitant, of course, are the sports what we have now to be related about in the sun as we go concomitantly to appellate and integrate all our dynamics, because we are a dynamic North American civilizational collective. So that dynamic North American collective civilizational collective is something which we have now to be concomitantly about. Watch the cars, guys. Watch the cars. Passing on the left, on the right. Gotta stop there, and now they got the red, but they were green before. You walk slow, you know, the velocity, you know, gotta get it on that go to be on the left and in the side and in the middle, you know, something that we have to be all the side to be left or right, and gotta be on those dynamics, you know, always circumstantial about it, and always getting on the drill, you know. And they're going on a strike. They're gonna go on a strike, you know. They're gonna go on a strike now, see? So it's gonna be on the left and on the right and in the middle. And of course, you ain't gotta get limited. You know, yeah, what you eating? You're getting chubby, you know. That's what it is, eh? And that's what we're gonna get, that drill, you know. So that's what we gotta get on the left and on the right and in the middle, you know. So it's something which we have now to be concomitantly, of course, in the play, and you gotta get on that, worry for that, you know. Don't you worry about that, rock and roll. But that's what we gotta get here, see? Gotta get on the side, enjoy a little bit of those leaves because they're so nice. Have a little fun in the sun on the leaves, and little joys like this of the autumn, you know. You get them once a year, but see, there's so many and they're so beautiful, eh? You gotta get it now. And oh yeah, that car is nice. See the car there? That's gonna bring me some of that good joy just passing there, you know. That's what we're gonna check, and check if they don't cross on the side, and that's what we're gonna get drilling on that for the left or for the right, and in the middle, of course. And there we go. See, look at that. Look at this. This is so nice. I love it. Barbie mobile. I would drive this, eh? You know, I'm that priestess. So I would definitely drive this. Really nice. Barbie mobile. It's nice. I would definitely drive that. I like bright colors. And that's what it is with that. And that's what you gotta get doing on that drill, man. To get, you know, to get the colorfulness like that. To get that aluminum metallic beauty is quite fascinating, and I wonder how it was worked, you know, how it was worked. How did they get that paint like that? And maybe somebody tells me who reads the transcripts or not, whatever. I think I got 3 more subscribers, you know. It's pledge your allegiance, legions to our family, you know. I always get it for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors. And look at this. Isn't this so gorgeous? Now, Mother Nature, see? Mother Nature, eh? Scientist and artist. You got a little bit of beautiful black dot there, you know? Nice. I just love all seasons. And of course, you get that moon. So we're gonna be the moon to the left. This is my left. I'm holding the work tool with the right hand. So on the right is gonna be the sun. So Halloween approaches, eh? I wish I could have seen the Halloween candies reduced, you know, but I guess we're not. We're gonna see them reduced after, which is, because now many are struggling. But I'm glad, I'm joyous actually, because I saw many, you know. I saw many, you know. I saw many decorations, many houses which have put their decoratives, you know, such as this little ghost there, yeah, such as this little ghost. Oh, you got a spider there, so that one's ready to be ghost and spider and pumpkin. That's all you need, eh? But I saw some ones that were really, really extensive, especially yesterday's video. I hit the jackpot. It was Halloween Central, you know. I guess with me being an ASP, but I'm an individual ASP, I don't necessarily represent all the autistic population, but those who have HFA particularly, also known as Asperger's, right? We're less than 1% of the population, so we're a tiny minority. But yesterday I hit the central, Halloween Central right there. I believe the streets was, I think it was called gotta double check in Montreal West, that way. He was gonna double check what the names of the streets were. But anyways, that was so extensive. I spent there like 4 minutes just to get it on the drill. And don't run too fast, eh? Gotta be attentive here, you know, because it's a danger zone whenever the clock goes down, you know. You gotta be aware of that. No need to rush. You gotta be safe, and sometimes you gotta work that safety with that, you know. Work the safety on the clock, and gotta salute the train conductor. So it's gonna be a strike for the public transit, you know. Gonna be a strike going on, and let's go by the side here. I'm just gonna throw some trash. Hold on. Throw some trash. Make sure you put it in the right place. So this doesn't have, just kind of doesn't have their recycling. One has, it's that thing went off. Usually it's recycling, and one is for recycling, and the other one is for trash. You know, so the trash and the recycling, which we have, of course, now co-worker of course, what we got is all the prerequisite, of course, where we represent our representational awareness, where we got to be on the left and on the right in the concomitant, where we depend, of course, on all the relationships that we have as individual sovereign citizens with the collective, eh? So basically, without being too academic, too intellectual, there are some garbages that are split in two, and you have to put the proper one in the recycling, and the recycling goes in the recycling, and the garbage will go in the garbage. Or some I'm gonna show you properly, because I see it often, and sometimes in my videos you see that I replace them. If they go in the garbage, I put in garbage, and vice versa. They go in the recycling, I put them in the recycling. So the buses are going on strike next month, November. They were asking for 25%. 25%. See, that's what that says there. That's French. It means in strike. So that's that 99% there. And you know, paradoxically, as many aspies, is a very high unemployment for us. I had many jobs. I had many jobs during COVID in the past years. It's just in my community, although you are the 99%, the neurotypicals, you constitute more than 99%, while us, the Asperger population, is about 0.44%. Only about half are officially diagnosed. I'm going to say I'm semi-officially diagnosed for years and years and years and years. People with experience, citizens with experience working with autistics, and people with Asperger's and HFA, high-functioning Asperger's, have been telling me. But of course, now to co-equivalent, of course, in the relationships where we are, that we are less than 1%, right? Less than 1%. Less than 1%. That's us Aspies, whereas you, the 99% of the population, you know, the 99% of the population. So vis-a-vis us and you, we have to build bridges, right? Because I don't have antagonistic relations versus vis-a-vis you. See what I was saying? So this is recycling, right? So this goes in the recycling. That says the shit that's garbage. So you have to put it where it goes, right? You have to put it where it goes. If you mix them up, it's not good. So you have to put the recycling where the recycling goes, basically, and the garbage where the garbage goes. So next month they're going to be on strike. They're going to start a strike, and it's going to be the third one. And this never happened before, and they were asking 25% increase over 5 years, and that means basically 5%, right? It's going to. Usually I wait about 10 seconds, and I'm grateful for this water. Imagine all the brains and muscle just to have this water and the electricity, you know, the sewers. This is civilization, is a privilege, and that's what it is with that rock and roll. And that's why we're gonna drill it with the left and the right and in the middle, and all those butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters. Happy birthday, Bill Gates. Give some more charity and come do some teaching with this Aspie artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical, understand, tourist on the mountain, Mount Rail. Teach me some computer science. Maybe we'll connect with my parallel self, and you're gonna see, wow, those satellites you built in that parallel timeline in the year darkness 2029 with those supercomputers and ICBM and cybernetics are really rock and rolling. Tremendous amount of underground work across the North American collective, both always for the 10, the 50, and the 3 years truly, to have this water here. Right? Otherwise, we'll be drinking it from the river. Eh? So now that we are well hydrated for our long march, it's gonna be a minimum 4 hours, and just want to say that I have a great desire, will, and volition to put some paint here, you know, to put some paint. So just gonna put some paint here, some blue, yellow, orange paint, you know, just to paint it, right? Just to paint it. just to paint it red, blue, orange, green, black, and white, even with the rainbow. I'm willing to do the work here, you know. Just I'll volunteer. I will volunteer, you know, just to, because I pass here often and it's like so gray, and I think a little bit of embellishment would be nice, you know, embellishing it here, just embellishments. Basically what I'm referring to, I will do a public service, a citizen public service. See, look at that, that's made in the USA, that's why we gotta work together, that's made in USA. These tubes, empty wheatland tube, western tube, see? I'm always curious about those numbers, what do they mean there? This is an Aspe's. So that's, you have to understand about Asperger's. Asperger's is not a disease, see, it's made in USA. That tube, made in USA. Asperger's, Aspie, sometimes we're concerned about weird details like that. And even before the trade war, I always used to check where the provenance, the origins of the country comes from. And of course, certain numbers which are written on it, which you have no idea, we have no idea sometimes what they mean, eh? And represent, but they're probably industrial classifications. It can be certain things like industrial classifications and things of that nature. I'm gonna go towards the sun. That's gonna feel so good. That's what it is, you know? Oh yeah, that's what it is. Oh, I feel so much better in the sun, eh? So they're gonna go on a strike. I gotta salute them, eh? I gotta stop being moody, because, you know, the nurses now, some nurses are finishing their 12-hour shift, you know? Nurses are finishing their 12-hour shift now. One more hour to go, they got 11 clocked in, and, you know, just to have all this, although I'm financially stressed, and I survived last year with 11,000, eh? 11,000 Canadian. I survived last year with 11,000 Canadian. This month I survived with $870. Paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, you know, paid my phone bill, and paid my Netflix. Netflix was affordable on special. The electricity bill paid half, and the rent I share, so, you know, and it's tough economic, and I had many jobs. It's just that there's a very high unemployment rate for Aspies. It's sometimes more than 80%, 80, 4 out of 5. Well, for you now it's gone higher. It's 7.7, I think, for in Canada, and for the youth it's like 15%. But imagine compared to us, how. And we're a tiny, small communities, because there's a lot of misunderstanding, social communications, which are more different. But Asperger's is not a disease. It requires more patience and understanding, you know. And I gotta give a shout out to my friend who got me 2 books on autism, and they have several chapters on Asperger's. And one specifically on Asperger's, Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome, is a book that was published before Asperger's merged, you know. Because Asperger's and autism, HFA, they merged. They merged before. So they have merged. Right? They have merged. So Asperger's merged. Asperger's and autism. So HFA, high functioning autism, merged together. They're not one and the same. So when I use the word HFA, high functioning autism, or Asperger's, basically I'm referring to the same condition, neurological mental divergent condition. Before they were separate, but now they have merged. So Asperger's is HFA, high functioning autism is Asperger's, right? It's vice versa. They merged circa 2013, 2014. So they are now one and the same condition, neurological mental divergent condition, which is not an illness. It's not a disease. That's what we have to comprehend. And even my brother Bill Gates, Scorpio, give some more charity and support the dream, the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom. And as I march for my anonymous friend as well, for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, the firefighters, for Halloween. Look at those carved ones, eh? They're nicely done, eh? Well done, kind of cool. That one looks a little bit hardy on the go, and you got some more flowers here which subsisted even in October, which is kind of nice. Super nice, eh? You guys are still standing, standing, flowers in October. And this is a nice beauty here. See how it branches out? Mother Nature is a great artist and scientist at the same way. And here we go at Halloween. Happy Halloween. And I'm going to dress up. I'm not going to spend to get dressed up. I already have. Basically, I'm going to improvise. I have a rainbow mask. So I'm going to wear. So there's some pumpkins there. So hey, you already got 1, 2, 3 houses just here in the corner that I'm going to give. And I think I see a pumpkin there orange. So 4 houses here. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the tradition. You know, if you put decorations, you automatically have to give candy. traditionally, right? And there's another one there. So 5 on just the street here. I don't put on my street because it's a one-way and it's very small street where I live. So we tried it once, but only my neighbor's children showed up from the left and from the right. So only 2 children from 2 different families showed up. 3, I think, from the same street because they knew. But that's it. So it's not really worth it for us to invest and get the money. Hey, look at that clown and face. That's pretty cool, eh? Trick or treat, Halloween. Got a retreat for the children. It's fun, eh? That's why I wanted to see the candies reduced traditionally before Halloween, you know, because they're gonna be reduced after Halloween 50%. But now it's tough economic times, eh, for many Canadians, including myself, you know. And I don't do drugs, I don't consume alcohol. If I can afford it once in a while, I will buy a bottle of wine. And there's the flag. Whenever we spot the flag, see, flag of Canada there, flag spotted there, see. That's the flag of Canada. We spot the flag there, so we're gonna show off ours, you know, show off our flag, you know. That's what we're gonna do. Let's do the rock and roll, man. See, go. See, there we go. There we go. See. Canada, tied it up. Supposedly I got that 22 years ago in the go, so that's what we got now. You know? See? Look. Check it out. That's that maple leaf, 1, 2, 3. Here it is. I like this one. I was done here. Spiders, you got different color spiders, and that one in the corner there is really well made with the grinning one is laughing really hard there, so another spider. This is nice. Got a spider with the red eyes there, and yeah, nice, man. You got some ghosts, see? Got some ghosts there on the side. That's nice, man. I'll pass here and get it on the go, man, you know. So that's just something what it is now, you know, to get it on the left and in the right and in the middle, man, you know. There's just something what we have to do. Left and right and in the middle, and you know, that's what we got, you know, for the left and the right. That's what it is with that, man, you know. That's just how we do it, you know. We show it on the go, man. Show it on the go, you know. That's how we go. And that's how we're gonna get drilling on that. Excited about Halloween a lot, and I'm gonna get dressed up what I can. There you got some nice ones in the back. Clown in the backs, and you got some bags, and you got some nice more Halloween-y there, and there's the big ones on the go. See, there's the grinning ones. They are ferocious. They're ferocious, man. Those are ferocious. And here we got some more there on the go. And hey, this is gonna be nice. 1, 2, and there's 3. Hey, I like that one. I like a beautiful tree here. Isn't this just perfection, eh? Nature in her perfection. Scientist. And nice and orange there in the back, grinning ones. So they're gonna wait for the children, scare the children, and just gorgeous, just beautiful. Wow, this autumn, you gotta love autumn, man. I mean, if you love autumn, you do, but if you don't, you don't. And that's just how it is with me, you know. 4 seasons for terrain, and you got a scary one there. Gotta get on that scary, man. You know. Check the other one, man. That was not so mean. Are you? It's like, I'm not so mean, I just look it. Gotta get for Halloween, trick or treat it. I'm good at rock and roll. I used to create lyric songs. I have thousands. English, French, you know. Composition, not that I'm good with here's some more ghosts. Not that I'm good with the lyrics, with the voice, singing my own lyrical songs, the lyrics of the songs myself with a voice that I meant to say, but vocally, maybe I'm not that good, but creatively, is the lyrics and the connection of the lyrics with the rhythm, I guess that I'm top 2025 going on 2026. Still waiting to be LOV, love more than discovered, pledge your allegiance, our family. And we got a green one there. That one's unique. It has a silver whitish color, eh? It looks different than the others. And that's where we are, eh? Aspies were different, and here I love that dragon. That is one of my favorite ones. See the red dragon? R-E-D, red dragon that you see. I got some R.I.P. Dragon spitting fire with the eyes up in desire. Gotta be for the you and me. So that's just that Halloween, man. And it's just Halloween 24/7 with me, I guess, with Asperger's. It's something which cannot be medicated. There's the witches celebrating. Why the witches celebrating something there, Doing a little bit of that celebration, the witches, Doing a little bit of that celebration, good vibrations. Celebrations, man. You see? And there's a death clown there in the middle. Waiting for the children. So it's gonna have fun there, Well, you see over there too, they have a lot of them. A lot. So another big one there in the corner. Gonna go check that one out. Turn the heads left and right, because you can only come by that way, but you never know. Oh yeah, that one's a greening one. That one I've seen a few times. They look, some I have a few times, maybe the same family related, the family of production, that is. So Halloween, I love it. It's for the children, so because even adults can get dressed up. It doesn't matter. You dress up at all ages. It's for all ages, but trick or treating, you're gonna go mostly for the kids, mostly for the children. I like teenagers is okay, 17, I guess. I wouldn't mind giving to adults also if they come. If I would be giving, but where I live now, it's not. So here we go on Bill Gates. Special Bill Gates celebrating his birthday. Where's Bill Gates now? What he's doing, what he's coding, I don't know. Under the sun, under stars on earth. Where a place of the year, where a place of the go, where a place of that simulation with that rock and roll. What's he working on and what projects? I'm calling Bill Gates to be the projects of that rock and roll, on the projects of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom to be concomitant, where we are now correlative about all the dynamics where we protrude into we are to be now in all the spheres. Is somewhere maybe in Seattle. Is it that Seattle? What you doing? Is it your Seattle? Maybe. I'm not sure if you are, if you're not, maybe somewhere across the world. How you celebrating your birthday? Let's bake a cake together. You buy the ingredients, I provide the labor, and gotta salute the truckers and the firefighters and see the train conductors, see how my brain now works, because of course geopolitics is my sports and fitness. I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst, theorist, philosopher, and of course I develop strategies for the defense of the North American Collective, and I don't see any grains or anything specifically in this, but I know that it is vital for our North American civilizational complex, and I know that it's going west. How many kilometers and miles will it keep on going west? It can go all the way to Vancouver, British Columbia in BC, because that's the west that's the Pacific, right? So the Atlantic, and maybe it comes from the Atlantic and it can go coast to coast. How many days to go there coast to coast, How many coast to coast? Whenever I say that, it reminds myself, of course. So that reminds myself of when I crossed coast to coast, So that was 2017, 2017, So that was, of course, the matters what we got now, 2017, that was before I got on the left and in the middle and in the right for us to be, of all the civilizational complexes and domains where we got those levels of our spheres of our beings, which completely changed my whole life, right? Because I was depressed and suicidal. For a few years, and as far as my memory goes, I have trouble remembering my life prior to winter 2014. I can't be sure. I have journals, but some of them got damaged and I had to recycle them and some I had to throw to the garbage because I spilled coffee and food and made a mess. But for example, the Canada tattoo, I got it in 2023, so more than 22 years ago, because it's 2025, October 28th, Bill Gates' birthday, and many others were celebrating their birthday in that Scorpio today, and that is concomitantly what we have to do now in the relationships and in all the dynamics where we are involved, to be loved and to be understood, and of course to have what we have now, you know, all the civilizational complexes of the life-affirming matter. See, this is garbage and that's recycling. See, this is garbage, that's recycling. That's why you have to put it where it belongs, you know. You gotta put it where it belongs. You gotta put it in the right place, basically. So please make an effort, you know. Please make an effort, just put it in the right place, you know. Sometimes you see my videos, I switch them up, and now I'm excited to get in the sun a bit on that side. That's why I took this route, because if I leave before or after a certain time, you know, I don't go to the mountain. I go by the water to the river. So depending what time I leave, tomorrow I'm going to try to get to the mountain, because of course it's been 4 days now, and after 4 days I start missing my second home, the mountain, Mount Royal, but I guess it's still going to be there. We're going to peek it, we're going to see it, we're going to see the mountain there, and you got a little bit of that honking here. There's always some honking near. I guess you got some cars which don't know their way, or tourists, and there at the corner there's always honking, because when you sit on that first lane you have to turn right, because that's for the turning of the right, and sometimes they want to continue going straight. See, most of the times when I pass here, they're getting honked there, because see, that car is static, so that car is supposed to turn right. See that car? Because they're on the lane where it's supposed to turn right. They're not supposed to keep going straight, because it's indicated. Oh, we got a little bit of the golden sun, my king, the Pope. Yesterday whispered a rock and roll song poem, and I had to agree. Said, hey, no warrior ever conquered me, or ever will, or prophet thereof. So I bowed down a few times, 11 times, and said, oh, that's too much, that's enough, no worries, just go be free, be liberty, and get some friends with benefits. That's what I would need now, some friends with benefits, you know. Don't waste my time, don't waste yours. You're black, you're white, you're purple, rainbow, you know. If you want to get some friends with benefits, that's how we're going to rock and roll it, and that's how we're going to drill it till the end. And I'm not necessarily looking, I don't have specifics, I don't have sexual frustrations, but I could improve my pleasure, because I can give pleasure, receive pleasure, you know. But I'm not sexually frustrated. If I would be, I would discuss it, I guess, as I discuss many other issues. I have a healthy masturbation, but I'm androgynous pansexual, and have been for many, many years, you know, at least 11 years since I'm in the open. As far as my memory goes, it's a long time ago. I have a very good memory of the past 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years. But before, like January, February 2014, which if you take into account that we're in October now, that means that's March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So more than 11 years and a half. So I have a very good memory of the past 11 years, just before, of course, January and February 2014. January, February 2014, that's where, of course, the most of the problematics are occurring in the dynamics, of course, of having the concomitant population of us being, of course, in all the relationships where we are now, to be in all, of course, the left and the right dimensions where we discuss, of course, all the relatives informatics, is that my memory is black out, basically. It's like sometimes memory comes back, you know. Sometimes memory comes back. So of course, basically, that the memory comes back is the dynamics of this circumpositions of, see, that's the arrow. So that arrow goes that way, right? That arrow goes that way. That's why you have to press. See the arrow, that's for going there. This arrow goes for going there. So it's neatly done. So I'm going to show you a little bit of aspiness. See, aspies, we might focus on these little details there. See, like those details. So the consumption says, of course, 3 volts. See? That's the consumption and the numbers and all those dynamics. Although we might not necessarily know what that means, fully comprehending the electronics, the electrics, and all the information as it relates to that specific classification and information, which has to do mostly with the LED lights and the consumer. The volts, I know that's a volt. So the W, I know that's it's for watts, right? For watts. V is for volts, right? Watt is the consumption. A watt, W-A-T-T, per. But it doesn't say if it's probably per hour, right? Usually it's per hour. Consumption per hour. For example, it's a certain amount of consumption per hour, and while we're lucky, because now we're discussing a little bit of electric here in Quebec, important to mention before I go on that all our electricity that we have here, and it goes to 5 or 6 states all the way to Manhattan Island, it is, of course, the relationship is that we have the Hydro-Quebec, which functions on electricity that is clean, zero emission, zero renewal. So the fact that it, of course, goes on the electricity of zero emission, zero renewal, it is an electricity that does not pollute. That does not pollute, right? So our electricity does not pollute. That is what is important to note. Our electricity is clean, right? We run on clean air electricity. It's from Hydro-Quebec, it's from water, right? So all these traffic lights as well, they come from water. They're based on water. The turbines, right? So they have spinning, which they spin. That's how it goes, of course, for the water to be produced. So that is quite something. And our water goes all the way to Manhattan Island, about a fifth. 20% or more than 20% goes of our water from the Hydro-Quebec goes to Manhattan Island, and all the way to 6 states, the closed states, which we have a border of Quebec with. And in 2 days, interestingly enough, we're going to celebrate the second referendum, because I've been seeing in the past days, in the past weeks, there has been a meetings and relations to restart here in Quebec, basically to have a third referendum. The first one was in 1980. 1980 was the first one. That was very close. The second one was not that close. So, or vice versa. I gotta double check. And they're calling for a third one. So the first two referendums were a no, but one came very close. So basically, to separate Quebec to become an independent state nation, because we're the French state. If we are to conquer Italy, of course, to see that we love the French language here, and of course we got Hydro-Quebec, which does not pollute, right? All these lights, see the lights that you see there? And if the cars is electric and you load it here, the car runs on electricity that is clean. See, for example, all these lights here. So all these lights now consume a certain amount of watts per hour. I wonder how much the consumption for all the traffic lights in Montreal is. This number exists, right? So this number is in real life exists, because now they're consuming. But at the same time that there's a consumption, there is a production. There's a production, right? So there's always electricity which is produced, but there's always electricity which is consumed, right? So there's always that dynamic going on now. The consumption is going on now. Conquer Italy always going on. Always. It's always a constant, right? It's always going on now. It's producing and we're consuming, and vice versa. In reciprocity. So now I'm not sure exactly how much, but of course I can relate. Because there's a relationship which is fostering the dynamics of the realities of the consumption as well. That is also public consumption, right? So for example, administrative buildings, schools, right? That lights there, those lights there, and the lights inside. So that's public. And then the traffic lights are public, right? So there's a public-private partnership. My dream is fundamentally a public-private partnership, and it's always constant when I go on the marches. It's a meditative state, and there's always at some levels of mathematics ongoing with my brain, right? Not at the highest level of mathematics, because sometimes those higher levels are not necessarily needed, right? For example, when you are to consume, now I know that all these cars are eating money. They're not eating money literally, but they're consuming gas. Thus, by them consuming gas, they are spending money in some ways, right? And maybe today I'm gonna try to not spend any money myself. I'm gonna see. Maybe I'm not gonna spend any money myself today. I haven't really decided, but I'm gonna see. Let me see if I have money. Let me see. Well, we'll see. I don't know. I don't really need to without per se, but that's just what we got, So that's just the dynamics of being now, all the referential attitudes of where we have to be now, to be on the left and on the right, and calculate the reciprocity of those relationships where we live now, So those are just the relationships of our life, of living, So that's the life affirming matters where we have now to live, and to live in the in the present as well as I do since I died of COVID, you know? Since I died of COVID. Since I died of COVID. COVID was pretty hardcore for me in 2020, February, March. I thought I was gonna die. I got triple vaxxed. I urge all to keep the protocols to the best of one's ability. Keep the protocols of public hygiene, you know. Keep the protocols of public hygiene. That is super important, you know. To keep the protocols of public hygiene. And, you know, now back to what I was saying, that they're eating money, but they're not really literally eating money, but they're consuming gas. If they're not electric or hybrid, they're consuming gas. And the price is about between 70 and 75% higher than early January, February 2020, March 2020, and before COVID. 70 to 75%, right? So that means that for the same distance, the cars are spending exactly more between 70 and 75, which negatively, adversarially affects the purchasing power of the citizen, because you can go out less, order less out, go less to eat, go order less out, order less to eat. All these things are less, right? You have less power of purchase, the majority of the citizens, right? The majority of the citizen population, because the prices have increased as well, while the salaries have stagnated. So that just is the tangible mathematical financial calculation. So because that's for the island of Montreal, because the average price of gas for the island of Montreal, February, March 2020 was around 93 cents. Right, last month it was about 161. Now it's probably going to be, October is going to be 153 average price of gas, right? So it's still way higher than it was before COVID and at the beginning in January, February, March 2020, right? February 2020, the average price of gas for February 2020 was 93 cents. At one point, I remember during COVID for a few weeks, it was 2025. I remember 2025, like 2020, in 2022, I believe. 2021, 2022, at one point it was $2.25. I said, whoa, that was pretty hardcore. Severe, that's pretty severe, eh? So that's, now in my mind, I'm trying to kind of calculate, because, of course, as we discussed in the past, the constant is, for cars, the constant is always the consumption per distance, right? So the cars would always consume that same amount of money, but per gas, and translate it into money, because you have to pay money for gas, will always consume an X amount, right? Will always consume an X amount for the gas, meaning for the distance, for 100 kilometers. And see here, you got grapes. See, these are grapes. These are wild grapes. See, and once, and in the past, I took grapes from here. What is this? This has to be recycled, eh? I like the purple. No way, made in USA, I'm gonna keep it. No way. I never had pre-shrunk cotton before. Adult large, probably fits me now because I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. I was on a fitness journey, and look at that. Made in USA. I'm gonna auction this for. Look at that. It's a keeper. Made in USA. I was born in the USA 3 times post 76. I'm just gonna put it in. Hold on. Nice. Look at that. Hey? I'm just gonna shake it a few times in the sun. says, Crater of Diamonds. I wish to get diamonds and gold to get the proper wedding proposal ring, engagement ring, and then wedding ring and engagement ring, you know? Gotta get that engagement ring, man. I'm gonna propose a third time probably on Halloween, if not on December 24th and 25th. If not December 24th, on Christmas Day. Although I'm a, Thelemite, I celebrate that Sol Invictus 24/7 every day. I can rock and roll with JC, I guess. Washing feet and all that, no problem. You wash my feet, I wash yours. Actually, I would need a little bit of that. Friends with benefits only, don't waste my time, please. But yeah, wow. Look at that, made in the USA, eh? I never had a shirt that says pre-shrunk cotton. Pre-shrunk cotton. I had cotton, 100% cotton, and I never seen anything like adult at 42 and then to 44. So 42 to 44, what is that? I'm 40. Supposedly I was born in 1984, but I gotta find a birth certificate. Maybe I was born under the Pentagon. Maybe in Lugoj, Transylvania, Romania. Maybe in Haifa, Israel. Maybe in Berlin. Which one, the East or the West? Because in 1984 they were divided, right? Machine wash warm. Inside out with light colors. Okay. And quite fun, I guess, with that, and that's that rock and roll, man. Now we're gonna eat some of these wild grapes. So once I have different places across Montreal, but once I took them from there, I washed them, and I'm gonna do it this year as well, maybe next week or in 2 weeks. And in November, I'm gonna take some wild grapes and boil them, wash them really well, boil them, crush them while boiling, and put some sugar and make some wild grape juice. I'm gonna make wild grape juice. So these are grapes from the wild. They're beautiful black and have a little blue in them. You can make. I even have the videos, where I make the juice. I show the juice from wild grapes from Montreal. So if you want me to make you a bottle of wild grape juice, I go around Montreal. I film the whole thing. We could film it in 3-hour video, and then I can film where I'm going to get the grapes and where I harvest them and put them in. Gonna make that wild grape juice. Sour but good. They're wild grapes, so they're not sweet. They're wild grapes. They're wild grapes, sir. They're wild grapes. They're not sweet. Look at those beauties. They're beautiful red, and those ones as well. Those are not grapes, by the way. There. So don't eat those. Those are not grapes. See these? Those are not grapes. Don't eat those. Don't eat those. I don't think they're any good. So those are not grapes. You don't eat those. So I gotta be grateful, for the shirt. I feel like going and immersing it in the river. I guess I could if I wanted to, but maybe we'll see. if not just by hand. At home, it doesn't have to be in the river. The water which I have at home comes from the river anyways. Right? I said in the river, but the water that I'm gonna take the shower, that I bathe, that we have to wash the dish from the river, but it's filtrated in by built machines by hands of men, right? The hands of men. So, but it's automatically, it is from the river, because that's our source here at Hakala, Montreal. We're surrounded by a big river, eh? So, huge river, very big river. Oh, this one has to be, because this one has to be recycled, you know. Just gonna put it in, or thrown to the garbage because of the dirt, but because this can go by the wind, you know. If this goes with the wind, it goes there, and machines, and there's somebody with children, you know, and they drive on this, and they break it, and then the car flips, you know. They come fast, eh? And they have some children, and that's why this with wind it could go roll over there, and it could be windy, and they could go right underneath the machine, and this could cause a car to flip if they go fast, you know, or the engine to explode. It says, you know, this can roll over with the wind because it's how it's made circular, right? So it's, you got to think about that, and it's made of glass, right? It's made of glass, so there's, and it's strong glass, right? So this can cause a car accident if it goes into the, here, when it comes from the highway, they can still go. So I'm just gonna, maybe that's what I was saved, you know, to save others. Maybe I just prevented a big accident here to happen, because sometimes it gets windy in November, October even, eh? It gets windy, so you don't want any car coming fast and it's windy and it goes right in there. You know, they have children, and you know, just drink, yeah, but recycle it or garbage it. I don't mind people drinking. I don't drink. I don't know if before I was maybe myself an alcoholic. Maybe that's what I was saved, because I died. I'm on my 4th rebirth. Eh? I'm on my 4th rebirth. I always say I died during COVID, which I had. I was pretty severe. I thought I was gonna die. I survived a vicious surprise attack. Eh? I was hoping to go before Halloween to go retrieve the archives. I guess I got 3 days, eh? Because it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so maybe I'm gonna go as soon as possible to retrieve my archives, as I gotta clean. I missed a lot of deadlines, but if not by Christmas, I guess 24th, 25th of December, gonna push back the date. I've been delayed, been lost employments, lost friends, you name it, and live with scars, and with joy today, because paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, and got $5 to buy got $5 to buy some wafers if I need to get that sweet tooth, you know, because I love wafers. So yeah, I survived a vicious surprise attack years and years ago. I was hit in the head a few times, and it was no sportsmanship, nothing like that. It was just a vicious surprise attack, you know, just a vicious surprise attack, which I survived. And I was hit in the head a few times and hit my head on the concrete in the Montreal Metro. Had a dislocated right arm, right shoulder, and of course that was that go with that. Had a dislocated right arm, right shoulder, was bloodied up, and went to the Jewish General Hospital, was put on some meds. I was put on some meds, and yeah, I don't know if before winter 2014, January, February 2014, if I was an alcoholic. Sometimes I guess I get those PTSD flashes, you know. If I was an alcoholic, if I was a junkie, maybe I was doing drugs, and I lived in this small prison type of cell. It was like a small prison cell. I didn't even have a bathtub, you know. I didn't even have a bathtub. I have one now, so I'm grateful. It was a small place. I didn't ever have a bathtub, and I always say, I guess I served my time there in the dungeon, small, moldy place, and I didn't even have a proper kitchen. I have one now, and the kitchen was in my room. So I had a small room on the ground in the basement, and the kitchen was there, and the bathtub was not present, you know. The bathtub, I didn't have, it was a small bathroom, no bathtub. So I like to take baths now and just clean here. Don't leave that trash there. What is that, man? Look at that. Let's put a garbage bag there, man. See, somebody just threw all that there in the corner. Oh, you just don't throw this trash there. I know there's a Tim Hortons there, but just put it in the trash, man. We got a lot of work to do for the DGA, you know, the Dancing Goddess Army, you know. That's how we need that DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, concomitantly, of course, to be. Now to correlate, of course, the DGA in all the appellatives where we are now to be revolutionary about, and to have that DGA now to be left and right and in the middle, and of course to be conqueror poised to a redemption, I guess, in many ways, at least for the North American collective, black, white, and rainbow, and second and third chances, fourth chances. I'm on my fourth rebirth, so I guess I got my own share of chances, and that's how we gotta get doing with that drill. And see here, we got potholes. Look at that. If somebody jogs there, puts the foot there, then that's done. That. See, so here it goes. You gotta put it here. Gotta put it right here. See, put it in the garbage, and you drop it in the garbage there, you know. And got the boys and girls in blue. Nobody's perfect. That includes that me and you, and that's how we got, you know, for the left, for the right, and for the middle. And we got some workers there doing a little bit of those Tim Hortons there, you know. Always good. I don't have money to go get it now, but if I would get some donuts. I always get some donuts with that, and that's what it is with that. That's what it is by that rock and roll, you know, to be on the left and on the right now, you know. Always gotta get on those drills, man, and that's some things which you have to be mindful of. There's a big economic, financial pressure now on the majority of the population, eh? Unlike unprecedented, even in Quebec, Canada, I've seen that there's a record-breaking food bank use. I never seen in Canada, and of course we have derail got tough, and of course the economic pressures from the trade war now coexist and co-build on our collective civilizational complex from the United States. Majority of the population are of course living in that same kind of financial struggle as we are. In many of the cases now, I guess, from what I hear, is between 40 and 44 million of SNAP benefits citizens who are going to probably lose their SNAP benefits on November 1st. So I'm asking, please, the corporations pitch in, you know, because food security is important. We got to get that Dragon Army. Get that Dragon Army for food security, housing, shelter, to of course finance mass fitness projects, you know. And we see the sun there is coming in, and that blurred my ears. Yeah, sometimes Aspies, we have these sensitivities to certain sounds, peculiar sounds like that. I see we gotta build bridges like this. I gotta love this bridge. Something that I love about the bridge right here, I'm not sure what, but see, there's a beauty to it. Almost it looks futuristic. Bridge builders, and we gotta build bridges between myself and my community of neurodivergence, people with Asperger's, you know, who are less than 1%. And we have to build small bridges, medium-sized bridges, large or extra large, within those 4 categories. That's just like when you order a pizza, you know. Pizza, coffee, or fries. You might order a big pizza, big fries, and large coffee. Large coffee, big coffee, small fries. You might order. So you can see how the bridge was built. And of course, now I wonder, of course, the dynamics of how much steel was used. Was it steel or metal? How many bolts, how many the dynamics, how much does it weigh actually, the bridge building like this? So that's why I have to build bridges. And of course it's always mathematics on going a certain part of the brain now concomitantly to all the appellations what we have now, right? Because the bridges like this one, right? There's thousands of bridges like this one, but not of this, of course, exactly like this, but the different sizes. Right, so you can check how the beauty of the bridge is, and of course this is part relegated to ships. Ships used to pass here, ships, right? Not anymore, but in the past, you know. So in the past there were ships which used to pass there. So of course all that ships building where we got now to be drilled, or of course that they were built for this canal goes to the other part of the river. So this is the deviation here. This water deviates from the river like that, right? So it's parallel to the big river which is surrounded Hawkeye Montreal. So Hawkeye Montreal is surrounded by a big river. Huge river, right? It's a majestic river which goes all the way to the Great Lakes. And it's constantly a reminder that of course this bridges, like we have to build bridges because I don't have antagonistic negative feelings between you, the 99% of the population. Hey, that's a nice purple there. Purple. Within the 99%. Right? I don't have antagonistic feelings. I don't have resentful feelings. I don't have malicious intentions, anything like that. I did lose jobs, many jobs. I lost friends, and it took me years to finally accept my difference, because for years and years and years and years I've been told, since about 2015, 2016, my anonymous friend has experience in working with autistics and people who are different neurodivergents, and others of course who are neurodivergents, and other people what we have now of course in those relationships where we are of course. But those are the left and the right aspects of course where we got to be building in the side of the things where we got the plurality to coexist now. And of course that coexistence is always the dynamics and the sentiments where we got to live the predomains of course of being inside an internal dissatisfactory moment of the predications of such notions that Asperger's is a disease, which is not. So I accepted my difference, and it took years and years and years, and I have to work on the characteristics and the traits, because they're not symptoms really. I don't use the word symptom, right? I don't use the word symptom. Symptoms is more for an illness when you use symptoms, you know. So symptoms is more for an illness, right? Those are symptoms. But Asperger's is not a disease. So since it is a neurodivergence, using the proper words such as characteristics and traits is more appropriate to what Asperger's is and what Asperger's is not. And there's not a lot of Aspies, right? Even only half are officially diagnosed. It's about 0.44%, right? Only about 0.44%. So that means that the actual number is about double. So it's still about less than 1%. Isn't it beautiful here how these little red are so beautifully here on the autumn? Just a gorgeous viaduct. So that's man-made, eh? That's part of the river which has been deviated to form and constitute here the side, of course, of the lake. Correction, it's not a lake. It's the side of the river which spills from one end to the river, is deviated and goes by the other side a few kilometers east. So it goes parallel east and west, right? Because Montreal, aka Hawk Island of the N.A.C.W.P, Hawk is surrounded by a big, huge river. So, what are you guys doing here, man? You're an empty box at Tim Hortons. This has to be half can be recycled, eh? Half, the other half is kind of greasy, but somebody probably just dropped there, stopped, and you got some donuts. You should have left me one, you know. At least if I'm gonna be recycling, you should have left me one. But maybe it's for the best, because look, once I come, this is where I'm gonna come to harvest them. See, these are wild grapes. Maybe it's for the best. See, these are all wild grapes. This is a perfect harvest place. So within the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna come harvest them here, because I never harvested them from here. Never. So all the grapes that I harvested from the past, none of them were from this place. None of them. None. So I'm just gonna taste how you guys are tasting. Gonna wash them a bit. So these are all wild grapes, see? They're nice one. I gotta come within the next 2 weeks. Probably next week or after the full moon, or before the full moon a day. Or just after the full moon, a day, 2 days after the full moon, when it's 3 days really. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a jackpot here. They're so perfect. So this is gonna be where I'm gonna be harvesting them for my next winter. So if you want a bottle, I'll make for you from here. If you want a bottle, oh yeah, definitely. Oh yes. Mother Nature, God is blessed. Definitely. See, next week probably gonna come and harvest these wild grapes right here. See, we got that jackpot, man. Wild grapes, man. See, I'm gonna eat the wild grapes now. Are there more over there? Maybe. Oh, some are there. Not that many there, but there's some below. So this is a place. Let me situate myself. So it's close to dynamic. So those 4 trucks there. So it's close to this building, just so I situate myself. The moon's there. So it's close to here. Dynamic, not far from the bridge. So where those dynamic trucks are. We gotta keep it dynamic, eh? The dynamic North American civilizational complex even produces wild grapes. So see, Wild grapes. Oh, even there, some more. So, hey, that's it. Yeah, close to dynamic. Are there more here? So we're gonna eat these. I'm scouting now for them because the dynamic is here. Déménagement dynamic. Maybe we're gonna find some more. So let's eat bar over there. Wild grapes, eh? Got a beautiful red here, eh? That just isn't it gorgeous? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous! What you looking, what you seeing? Rock and roll in red! What I said, kisses on the flag! Gotta twerk it for a leg! Oh yeah, I can rock and roll. I'm not necessarily good at vocals, the voice myself, but I just create them on the spot, you know? Mother Nature, Civilization inspired. Oh yeah, not bad. Oh yeah. To be honest, the ones that I ate first time were a bit better, to my taste. No. These were slightly bigger, but because they're gonna make a good grape juice. So here we are. Discuss a little bit on Asperger's and autism. HFA and Asperger's is one and the same thing, by the way. So it took me years and years and years to finally accept it, you know, because I've been semi-officially diagnosed in many ways by my anonymous friend and others who have experience in the healthcare working system, and for years and years and years they have told me, and have told me, of course, that I have Asperger's and HFA, and of course this relationships of where we have now to be concomitant in all the dynamics are, of course, to explain to without too much detail, just in a general manner, of course. And I have to state again, thank you, my anonymous friend, for gifting me 2 books on autism, which have chapters on Asperger's, and one specific book which was published before Asperger's merged with high-functioning autism, because now they're merged in about 2013, 2014, they merged together. Look at that. Gorgeous, eh? With this gorgeous sunset. So they merged together circa 2013, 2014, so now they're one and the same. So we have to commence where we state that it's not a disease, right? It's not a disease. Because I remember whispers when I was working, and I had several jobs, and it's just, for us, Aspies is a problem keeping long-term employment. People usually in the first 4 minutes, 4 hours, 4 days, they figure out that we're different from them, and that we have, that we're different, you know, and that they don't exactly know. They might mistake and confuse Asperger's for an illness, for a disease, for a mental illness, for... Yes, in certain things we are less able. I don't necessarily use the word disability, but we are less able in certain social communications. The way we interact and we perceive the world is different. And this difference, of course, is not malicious, negative, or bad, right? It's just different. And no, not all Aspies are good at computer science, by the way. That is more of a myth. And there's this kind of semi-myth association that Asperger's is. Aspies and people with autism are not good, super good at computer science, but got a beautiful red here, eh? Gorgeous. So, yes, there is a certain truth to that, is that generally Aspies will be above average in verbal intelligence, and mathematical acumen will be above average in mathematics. And there is, yes, a truth to the computer science aspect, that in fact, generally more Aspies than neurotypicals when we proportion the population per different segments, so for Aspies between the Asperger population and for neurotypicals between the neurotypicals population, then there is a disproportionate representation of citizens who are good in computer science. So for Aspies, it's about 20% of Aspies within the Aspie community that is good at computer science. So that's about 1 out of 5 compared to about your population of the neurotypicals. But considering that the majority of the population, you are the neurotypicals, 99% of the population is neurotypical compared to us, neurodivergent. So, but within your population is about 1% to 4%, depending on the state or the country, even, right? The country or the state. But I'm speaking from a North American perspective, so that is to be kept in mind. So thus, there is a disproportionate representation of those aspects who are good in and with computers and computer science and mathematics, things of that nature. So that is just what you have, of course, to congregate and, of course, to have with the faculty, of course, of all the representational abilities where we have now to be concomitant in all the relationships where we got now the domains, and of course to be self-explanatory in the motives where we are to include the statistical overrepresentation in this area such as computer science. But now we lack, and I've been working on it, and for the past years, I believe, since I accepted my aspiness and neurodivergence, I've improved greatly, I believe. And thank you again for that book called Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. Let's just feel the red. Feel the red, my favorite color, what I said. Got that red backpack, red scarf, red underwear, and a red shirt underneath, you know. Red shirt underneath the green, and what's red is also the cap, the protection for my smartphone, my work tool. And see, there's some voting going on, and it's rare that I see 4. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 there on the voting coming this Sunday, 2nd of November. So it's coming in a few days. We're gonna get that vote. Right. So now back to Asperger's. It has been a hard road indeed, because I've been depressed, been suicidal, you know, and maybe that's why I was attacked viciously by surprise. I guess they tried to take me out, they couldn't do it, and I'm here alive, joyous, and I was attacked. I survived a vicious surprise attack in the Montreal metro on the island, and I used to live on the island of Montreal, and I graduated high school. I did graduate high school. I dropped out of college. A lot of Aspies, there's a high dropout rate from high school and higher education. And see, metro and bus, this is the translation, so that's French. It says buses and metro, they're gonna go and strike soon. They're gonna go and strike, and gotta salute the ambulance workers. So they're going on strike on first of the month. Is gonna be supposedly even every day. That's gonna be interesting to see. It's gonna cause a lot of frustration, but mathematically I calculated, so their requests were not that majestic. They asked the union, that is, which is going on strike again for the third time, unprecedented, strikes across Canada. They requested 25% over 5 years. 25% over 5 years, that's divided 25% divided by 5, it's 5% annual salary increase only. 5% to keep up with the cost of living is not that much if you think about it, right? Think about it, 5%. 5%, man, it's not that much, eh? So it's 25 sounds like a lot, but 25 they asked for over 5 years. So if divided by 5, that's 5%. You know, look at these. Eh? Look at these, eh? They're wild here, they stayed, eh? They stayed on the wild side. Quite beauty, spiky, eh? Yeah, look. See, they're still purplish. Purple in October. Yeah, I love it, see? Look, it's purplish. Stayed purple, man. It's almost November and they're still strong there, eh? We'll see how that goes. Ah, yeah, these are beautifully strong. You beautiful, beauty, beauty, beauties, you still standing strong. Even when it's getting colder, that's the autumn, that's the rebirth, planting seeds underneath, that's the red. Oh yeah, I rock and roll, beautiful sunset, 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 sunrise. I rock and roll 24/7. I rock and roll. I rock and roll 24/7 for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, the bakers, the welders, all those involved in the production, distribution of food, you know. That's how I gotta do it with the drill with them, and that's how we got now to be concomitantly in all the appellations where we have now, you know. All those relatives and all, of course, that configuration is all the dynamics of what we have now to get on the dynamics of the life affirming aspects of our civilizational complex, and to take notation of the strike, right? Because there is a strike which is gonna maybe affect us also. It's gonna maybe even affect us also. Particularity in the particularities. So that's what we have, and that's how we do, and that's how we're gonna get that drill for that, and that is something which we have now. And to get, for me to cross the street there, we're gonna go to on La Pierre a bit, because I'm feeling like I'm gonna go. Actually, no, I changed my mind. I'm just gonna. No, I changed my mind. I was gonna go to Super C, but I think I'm not gonna spend any money today. Actually, I'm just gonna improvise, make myself some. I was gonna go to that Super C there, but I haven't been, I think, in 10, 11 years to that Super C. But I just changed my mind. I said, you know what? No, I changed my mind. So I said, maybe I'm not gonna spend any money, but I might go to the bank account just to check my account. But I have a $5, but it's kind of ripped, so I don't think they'll accept it. It has a piece that's ripped. Anyways, but I have it home. I guess I can make myself some, put some hot water and make myself some cereals when I get back home, just to do a little bit of drill with that. So if I need, I don't have to satisfy my sugar cravings every day. You know, although I could go try to get those wafers. I hope they're still $1. They went up a bit, eh? They went up my wafers, and they're still at a good price because they're 175 grams. They went up from $1 to $1.17, then to $1.39, and now finally to $1.50. So they're still okay-ish, you know, they're still okay-ish for the price, for considerations that they're, you know, they're heavy bulked, if I can put it that way. They're heavy bulked in the sense that they're 175 grams, not 100 grams. So for $5 I get like more than a pound of wafers, basically, if I'm to quantify. You know, if you see somebody, I'm going to show you somebody who does this, might be an N.A.C.W.P. So I'm going to show you now what some N.A.C.W.Ps like myself I've been doing for years. And I remember about 9 years ago in the store or so, I always, most time, not all the time, when I take products, I would inspect them close to the eye like this. So what we're doing is looking up on details. For example, on this little, we might look at details such as the grams, the information. Of course, even before the trade war, I checked where it's distributed from, where it's produced. This was supposed to be Houston, Texas, produced, and it's a hand sanitizer, basically antiseptic hand sanitizer. Please keep the protocols of COVID, and it has a number there. See number 7315, 7,315. So those, we look for certain details, you know, of objects. And I remember about 9 years ago, my anonymous friend said, you know, people are looking at you like you're, like, what is that alien, is that an extraterrestrial being doing there? And I know it can look odd and weird. It's just what we're doing, and it's probably an N.A.C.W.P, somebody who has this neurological mental divergent condition that I have, that does that, right? And somebody who's been buying that same product maybe for 25 years You might have never noticed that. Hey man, I noticed for the first time that that there's the labels in the back that I never noticed. I've been buying. You might say I've been buying this product for 25 years. I never noticed that those numbers changed, and there's numbers, little numbers or little letters. So those are maybe an industry creation. They might be where that specific product was produced. Sort of like the coordinates within the mega corporation, right? Within the mega corporation, it could be that those specific numbers signify the specific locality, place of that factory. Maybe that factory in Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alabama, Montana, Arkansas, or Florida, Texas, all Canada, United States, or even somewhere else around the world, because we got conglomerates and multinationals that are basically international, right? So maybe that's what that is. You follow? Usually it's a symbolic that maybe only a few people know what actually those numbers are. But for example, that little number 7,315 that I showed you on that hand sanitizer, little hand sanitizer, it's not really a jar, it's like a hand sanitizer, antiseptic. It's basically a little piece, but it's an antiseptic hand sanitizer. It's basically, it's a number that might signify the number, of course, of the specific sequence of the numbers of which number was quantified at in sequential order on that specific assembly line and that specific moment, day or week, probably weekly or even monthly. So that might be the specification and the quantification thereof, the relationship thereof. So that might be, of course, the relationship thereof of the numbers which are correlated to the magazine, but it's not really a magazine, but it's more of a factory of an assembly line, which that might be the reality thereof. So all that concomitant, of course, where is to be is the relationship where we have now those dynamics, that number has maybe a significance, which is internal corporate classification significance, internal domain significance, internal significances, which might apply to that specific company, corporation thereof, right? So that is just what you need to remember in what I just said, that if you see somebody doing that, it is probably an N.A.C.W.P, somebody who has autism, who's looking at these weird, awkward, strange details. Weird, awkward, strange details, right? So you might evaluate those weird, strange, and awkward details thereof. So that might be thereof in all the relationship what we have now. Look at this beautiful one. Look at that beautiful sunset. That's all we got, beautiful sunset with that. And that's all we got to rock and roll with that. You know, it's always living. And yeah, this is a jackpot of red here. Jackpot of red! Autumn, what I said. Truckers, bakers, butchers, nurses, doctors, electricians. Plumbers, on the roads, you know they hum it. Rock and roll is all I know. As I go and hit the road, rock and roll is all I know. As I go and hit the road, look at this. Oh, this is more jackpot. Mother Nature, look at that red. You rock. Mother Nature, gotta love you, Mother Nature. And I'm still waiting a response. I guess tomorrow I can do a follow-up with all the applications of the jobs that I did in the past 3 weeks, because it's been 2 weeks past since I applied here to this eco center. I applied to them, and here you can drop yes, you gotta make an appointment. You can come drop ecologically sound. You can ecologically drop, see, in the eco-friendly center here. You can drop your bins, and you can drop, of course, the correlation thereof. You can drop it, and that's why you can do the compost. You know, you can do that compost, or you can drop it safely. I'm not sure all the products that they take, but I worked on the compost projects myself in 2018, and that's what it is with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing on that rock and roll side. So that's how it is now for the ecological aspects, and this is where we're gonna get drilling now, you know, all the way to the left, to the right, and in the middle, and in the circumferential aspects that I hope I get some business, always open for business and pleasure. Pledge your allegiance, or if you're black or white, friends with benefits only, you gotta be 18 for that one, eh? You gotta be 18 for that. That's that 18 plus. That's how we play with that game. It's not a game really, but I could do with some friends with benefits, you know, especially trading some massages. Please, millionaires, billionaires, finance the public workers, the nurses, those who pick up the garbage, the recycling, finance them some good massage therapy sessions, and we got to make ourselves a little bit in that usefulness sometimes to each other, for the individual and the collective. Oh, we got to get support of my dream, you know. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, always a dream for the North American collective, as now there's hundreds of truckers, thousands of trucks with goods across the border. That's right. Now we live in unprecedented economic financial stress, and people are stressed with mortgages, record-breaking food bank use for Canada and Quebec. Quebec and Canada are record-breaking the United States as well, as in the same parallel as we constitute a collective, We constitute a collective North American civilization, which is not totally divorced, but is distinct from Western civilization, right? So when I saw the salaries of the top 6 players in the both the Dodgers, LA Dodgers, and the LA Dodgers and the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, 6 made on each team more than 15 million. Some made more than 20 million, but 6 of them made more than 15 million per year annually. Imagine that. So that's why I said, and it's the owners, principally the owners of the NFL, National Football League, the NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. And it's interesting that compared to the hockey players, the baseball players make almost, some of them even double. Because I think the highest paid Habs player, Go Habs Go, makes about 7-8 million, you know? 7-8 million. You know, nobody's gonna march more than me today across the free world. No general of NATO. Maybe some will, I wonder. Who's gonna march as probably marched more than any general of NATO already combined, and that's how we gotta get that drill. And should I go to check my bank account? I know it's in the red, but maybe I should get some money to get, you know, tomorrow's the last day for 99 cents, so to get some cans, I want to get some cans with that. Tomorrow is gonna be the Super C, so maybe I should turn. Should I turn and go and check? I guess I could. Should I, could I, would I, could I? If not, I go tomorrow, It's always something. I kind of feel like doing it, but if not, we're gonna go by the up there, and I guess let's do it. Oh, thank you. Letting me pass, priority, thank you. Oh, got the smell of that gas. Smell of that gas is a bit on the nasty side, but I guess we'll survive. So I guess we're headed towards the bank. Didn't kind of wanted to, but you know, it's coming on a tight budget, and I got overdraft protection, so because of the overdraft I can go maybe get some food, you know. And I'm concerned about my brothers and sisters in the USA with the SNAP benefits. We got to work a North American integral food security plan with the corporations, you know. We got plenty of fast food, and we got plenty of food waste, corporate food waste, you know. Corporate food waste that you have seen on my videos sometimes. I show so much corporate food waste from the bread, and sometimes even not just bread, but sometimes cheese, and sometimes even candies. Lots of candies after the holidays, Sometimes lots of candy over the holidays. So that's a bit on the wasteful side. So there's big corporate waste, you know. It's a huge corporate waste which happens on a daily basis across North America. So basically we can do better, you know. We can do better. My dream is a public-private partnership, so I'm going to finish on that Asperger's, and we're going to discuss my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership for the North American collective civilizational complex, always for the 10, the 50, and the 3. For the 63, as I'm probably gonna march for more than 4 hours today, because I gotta get that minimum 4 hours, I gotta average a minimum of 20. October, November, December, January, February, March, kind of February. For those 5 months, I average less. Kind of autumn, winter, you know, October, starting mid-October till about mid-March. So November, December, January, February, March, you know, for that like 5 months, I kind of average 20 hours. I try to have a minimum of 20 hours average marching per week. And after that, from mid-March till about mid-October, for more than 6 months, I kind of average more than 25. I have to average more than 25. So there's a variation. So basically I diminish a little bit by a few hours, not by much. Basically it's about a diminishment of about a fifth, right? But it's of course not always, because sometimes I do march 25 hours. Last week I clocked in 23. So it depends. There's a variation, in other words. So now we're going to finalize on Asperger's autism. So autism and Asperger's, wait, HFA, right? Because there's levels of autism. So there's levels, gradations, levels of autism, right? So autism has levels. So some are more functioning than others in the social sphere. Some have very impediments. So some impediments can be larger than others. So these impediments usually constitutes the problematics of those impediments are related to our ability to understand certain social dynamics, and the way we communicate socially might be more divergent, even strange, bizarre, but we're not evil, bad, malicious, negative. And I remember people were whispering when I was working and said, hey, that's a disease, that's a disease, and referring to me that I have a disease, and it's not a disease, it's not a disease, Asperger's. I refuse that. Use even symptoms, right? Because there's no medication. The controversial new development that Asperger's and autism is caused by, well, Tylenol. Tylenol is actually the brand within this. Tylenol for headaches, for muscular illness, is of course the ingredient called acetaminophen. When I say the word acetaminophen, it triggers past lives, incarnation of a past life from ancient Egypt for some reason. But of course this is an ingredient found in some products that Tylenol, the brand, puts on the market, such as for headaches, the pills for headaches, right? But fundamentally, acetaminophen is the ingredient that supposedly causes autism in pregnant women. So when pregnant women ingest this acetaminophen, supposedly there's a correlative causation. But I can't say no, can't say yes. It's of course something which for me, it is maybe. Now, it is part hereditary, or hereditary that is biological, genetic, or it is environmental. But there's no medication, and the treatment for me is reading books such as Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome, because thank you, my anonymous friend, for loaning it 4 times from the library. It was loaned several times, and I read it, and it opened my mind. Hey, this is cool. It opened my mind. I like those lights. It opened my mind to how my difference is sometimes perceived, and how we have vulnerabilities. Myself as an individual Aspie, and others Aspies, that we have these vulnerabilities. Right, that we're vulnerable in certain conditions of a social nature. We might have vulnerabilities which certain people might exploit or undermine, or make us lose jobs, for example, or harm us in different ways, abusive or XYZ, without us knowing. So without us even knowing, right? So without our knowledge, in many ways, because the group mind, hive mind, sometimes these things can evade us, because we're different and our brain processes information different, so we might not be able to relate so well. But it's a work in progress, basically. It's a work in progress for Aspies. So the work in progress, where we have to relate ourselves to be that we are part of a population which is not just vulnerable sometimes, but we have our strengths, paradoxically. And yes, there are people who have Aspies who become super wealthy. Supposedly Bill Gates, happy birthday, give some charity and support the dream on the implementation of the DRT. Supposedly Bill Gates would be diagnosed as having it, right? Would have it on others. But I'm semi-officially diagnosed, because to get a consultation, the cost is just so elevated that at the moment in time I cannot afford even to go to get my scars. And I discussed it in the past. I have a skin condition, and it looks like eczema or psoriasis, and like there was some sort of, maybe try to get it out, the mutilation, and on that little clit, dicklet, androgynous, sometimes goes rocket high, sky to the moon. God is blessed, scarred but healed. And I guess sometimes the wounds get into scars, and some scars remain, I guess. But nonetheless, that is whatever it is the case to be. It is always on the left. on the right and getting in the center regardless. But it costs $300 for me to have a consultation for the dermatologist consultation, and for autism and Asperger's is very high. It's in the 1,200 there, and in the Publik now I'm still on the waiting list for waiting for a doctor. I'm still on the waiting list waiting for a doctor, you know. I'm still on the waiting list waiting for a doctor, you know. Publik doctor, Publik. I'm still on the way for a family, what's called a family doctor. But I changed so much between, you know, I was depressed, suicidal. That is something which hits Aspies a lot, depression and suicidalness. So these four main things are the problems for Aspies, and particularly very high unemployment rates, more than 80% sometimes. We tend to get the jobs, but keeping them is a problematic. Long-term maintenance of the employment is a problematic for many Aspies. I had many jobs, but just keeping them, as I had I'd made many friends, even in the LGBTQ community. Like I said, you're black, white, or rainbow. 18 plus for that one. You know, you gotta be 18 plus, eh? 18 plus. You're black, white, or rainbow, 18 plus. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours, you know. That's what it is. You're 18 plus, and that's what we got, and that's why we gotta get those drills. If you're 18 plus, you gotta get that loving for that, and that's just how we're gonna get drilling. So, see, you got that Canada United. That's how we gotta be for the North American Collective, and I certainly have my strengths, eh? But have my own where I'm less able, you know. But those four main problems which we have are lack of friends and lack of stable employment. High depression and suicidal rates are 9 times higher, just like unemployment is 11 times higher. So I was depressed and suicidal from like autumn 2014 till about summer 2017. And summer 2017, I crossed coast to coast, ocean to ocean with my anonymous friend. In 2017, we took the bus and went 3.5-day ride to Montreal, from Montreal to Vancouver. It was a long bus ride, 3.5 days to go, 3.5 days to come back. Spent 7 days total in August on the bus. Went to Vancouver, BC, to the Pacific, and in September 2017 we went to the Atlantic, Nova Scotia, Halifax. I have the tickets, and by train it was 25 hours and 44 minutes, so more than a day. From Montreal to Halifax, it was more than a day, 25 hours and 44 minutes. So yes, Canada coast to coast, we crossed it, and that event made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians and brothers and sisters in the United States, because I was born in the United States 3 times. Once I was born as a woman, twice as a man, post 70-76, and I served in the same United States Armed Forces. The wars were 156 years apart, and it's always for the 10, the 50, and the 3. It's always for the 63, as we say, pledge your allegiance, legions. They're our family, and that's how we rock and roll, you know, for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the electricians, and all those now involved are involved in the production, distribution of those foods, and of course the fast food workers as well. Gotta give them some rock and roll, because they flipping some burgers, cheeseburgers, making some fries, some pizzas now, you know, and the construction workers with it on those cranes, you know. Gotta get on that love, you know, for them. And you know, it takes a lot of work, and I'm mostly all about work, and friends with benefits would be nice. Pledge your allegiance, legions. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours, you know. And since I died of COVID, I live at Carpe Diem every day with hope for tomorrow. I live for today, eh? Live for today, but I have great hope and dreams for tomorrow. My dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, is fundamentally my work, although friends with benefits will be appreciated, especially if you don't waste my time. I'm gonna exchange, trade some massages, and I don't know if I was a junkie before 2014, like January, February, winter 2014, and I used to live in that moldy place for a few years. I have some documents dating there for still on the island of the Hog, Montreal, from 2010, and I survived many times. I'm on my 4th rebirth, and gotta go retrieve that archives from the Jewish General Hospital. And my theories are unmatched in the public Privee sphere, in the philosophical sphere, that I can say clearly with all the trauma, with all the scars, with all the my aspiness, my sometimes odd, weird traits and characteristics, that my philosophies, theories, and propositions are, of course, on spot, and we're gonna get drilling now into geopolitics, because parallel to rock and roll, sports and fitness, dancing is my favorite sport. I'm that priestess of the goddess, got those trillions of kisses. Tell me if you want some of those trillions of kisses. Pledge your allegiance, because in a past life I was also the priestess from ancient Egypt, and once priestess of Pythia, who wrote the great Retria to Lycurgus. Yes, I was the priestess Pythia, who wrote the great Retria to Lycurgus. I was the priestess Pythia, who orated the great Retria to Lycurgus. In a past life I was the priestess Pythia, who orated the great Retria to Lycurgus in a past life. And that was just the characteristics of the appellations where we have to be now, and to get, of course, on those domain where we live and are relegated, of course, in all that life-affirming matter where we are to dictate our civilizational complexes and to correlate the union of Canada and the United States in the fused manner. You still got those yellows. Look at the yellows. I love yellow flowers, So, yeah, so that's what we're gonna drill, and that's what we're gonna discuss, the appellatives there. And I really have to go to get some pee, so I'm just gonna, otherwise I'm gonna pee on me. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and right here I'm gonna turn and woo, gotta pee. Oh yeah, that was I really had to pee there in the corner. So look at this beauty. So that's gonna be it on Asperger's. We have those 4 main problems, like I said, and we're gonna go into geopolitics. You gotta leave the baggage at the door. Geopolitics now, and my theories. And I predicted what's happening now back in 2019. So I'm actually marking 6 years since 2019. October 17th, I posted my first video, October 17th in 2019, correlating to the prediction, which has parallel to what is parallel happening in a general manner. Basically, I predicted a World War III, an international conflagration. So I predicted an international conflagration on the horizon within the next, I said, the next, basically, years, 7 years, a World War III, in other words, an international conflagration of World War III. But, however, I got a parallel co-equally state that I did not predict the current deterioration in relations with the United States. And the re-election of Donald Trump, I did not predict, because Donald Trump was still president at the time of my prediction. Donald Trump was still president when I had made that prediction. Donald Trump was still president of the United States of America. So Donald Trump was still president when I had made that prediction. So I did not predict his re-election, because he was basically still president, right? He was still president at the time. But I predicted an international conflagration, and I did not predict the deterioration of relations with the United States, as it has been happening since this year, since Donald Trump's reinstatement and recommencing his mandate, right? His second mandate. So that I did not predict. So although I predicted an international conflagration, I did not predict Donald Trump's re-election, right? Because he was already president. So banking, and of course I'm in the red, and my call to the millionaires, billionaires is to please finance across Canada, United States food security and make rolling that capital. If I would have been a millionaire, billionaire, I would have started October 1st. I would have hired some youth. See, I'm in the red, but I can go overdraft minus to 500. And I'm $10,000 in debt which I gotta start November. See, November 4th, I'm gonna pay interest. I'm more in the red, and $10,000. See, $10,000. So I'm $10,000 in debt and financially stressed. You see here, look at that. So all the 5s that we get are 2013 emission. You see, all of them that I've been getting lately over the past years are 20. So I wonder if they were printed. See 2013, see 2013, 2013, 2013. Can somebody answer me? How come they're 2013, all of them? And for the past year, 2013, of course, in the diminution where we have.
Dobra, to trzymajcie się. Nie, jestem teraz, wkładam pieniądze do kasy, do grupy, do banku zajechałam. Od sprzątania do kasy, do ciebie.
There we go. So that's what we got, and that's what we gotta get that rock and roll, and so we gotta get on that drill, you know. Here we are, we're gonna go, and that's how we're gonna get it, and gonna get it on that left and the right, and the butchers, the bakers. See, that's a big pothole there. Oh my goodness, if somebody jogs, this is danger zone, man. Look at that. This is a foot. She looks like a giant, Nephilim, maybe, Nephilim. Look at that. She looks like a foot there, see? It's like a giant, somebody just a giant from outer space maybe landed, but he landed on 1 foot. Extraterrestrials, maybe. E.T., man. Look at that. So that kind of looks, see? Exactly like a foot there, like a machine. But where's the other one? Maybe just one-footed cybernetics. In a parallel life is the year Darkness 2025. I build super satellites, cyborgs, and all things to do with civilization, technology, and all things to do now with all that appellation where we have now to be conquer Italy, of course, where we are now. So, yeah. Financially stressed, but hey, you know, got $5. Gonna go get my wafers, gonna be happy with the wafers, because that's all I'm gonna get, and gonna discuss geopolitics, and I'm gonna do disinfecting on my, so please, now I have to disinfect my hands, right? Because they took the disinfectant is no longer there, if you notice. So, because, see, this is the disinfectant I'm going to use. We're going to go there, the corner. So, I think we should we should keep all with public-private partnership engagement and finance, the public financial product, the public hygienic protocols. The public hygienic protocols. Hey, this looks beautiful. That's Canada. For that steel and that metal, Canada, Canadian, says it, Canadian. Love that red, and see, it says Canada there. See? We need Canada and United States to work together, eh? Because that's all we got, so now I'm going to use this disinfectant. It's a moisturizing sanitizer. It kills bacteria and germs, but it's without alcohol, see? It's without alcohol, so it kills bacteria and germs. So I'm gonna put a little bit, not too much. Put a little bit too much. See, you don't need much. And then rub 20 seconds, 19. And even the money, you know, even the money I should rub a little bit. Because there's bacteria, microbes, and germs, right? And as you can see in my past videos, that the money, these $5 bills for the past years, most of them, if not all, that I've taken from the island of Montreal, they say issued 2013. Issued 2013. So that means that in 2013, all the batches that were transported to Montreal, because of course we got that Bank of Canada printing money, because money is fundamentally to buy, sell. Sometimes we get too obfuscated and convoluted about what actually money is, you know. Money is to buy, sell. I still got a little bit in between. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So now we disinfected. Now we're disinfected. So that disinfection, of course, is the relationship of the disinfectation of the hands, because, of course, we have the reality of the disinfectant, the reality that there's bacteria, germs, and microbes, because I pressed the buttons. I pressed tangible buttons, not on the screen, but I pressed them. They were made of plastic, right, to enter the code. So you have to have at least 4 digits, right? I'm not going to tell you my code because anyway, even if I do, I don't have money to. Why are you going to steal from you? You're going to say, hey, I'm the red. You're going to get upset. You're going to get upset. You're going to get in trouble and upset. So he didn't even go in front of the judge. But he didn't even have money for me to steal. But nonetheless, so you have to have at least for my RBC, from what I know, maybe now it's changed at least 4 digits. I have more. But let's say you have to press 1984, right? If you press 1984, 1984, that's 4 digits. But some other people maybe before you, there were hundreds before you got clean. Maybe you didn't even get clean today, and you got clean for hours. And there might be somebody who has pressed the same numbers, whose personal hygiene at that moment in time wasn't that great, co-equivalent to yours or somebody else's, and might have touched something that got the germs and bacteria and microbes. Got the germs, the bacteria and microbes, put it on those same numbers, and you got now those germs, bacteria and microbes. You follow? Because there might have been hundreds of people on today who went and pressed at that same machine, sometimes even hundreds, sometimes maybe even thousands. That same machine, just somebody else came next to me, right? There are 3 machines. You follow? So because you have to press those buttons to enter the code, that's where you touch it with your hands. So you touch it with your hands, and that's why you have to disinfect. You follow the relationship? So that's why I call all to disinfect the hands as much as you can, as much as I can myself too. You know, I gotta always refill my. Still got some leftovers for the winter. I think I'm good. Thank you that it was on special. I bought it from a close place near my home, and it's a big one. Can that I made. I paid it for a liter, huge one. A liter, but not for this small one, a bigger one. Which I used to fill it up, and it works really well. It smells a bit kind of chemicalish, but that's the chemicals to kill the bacteria, germs, and microbes. But it's a liter. I got it for 99 cents. And I got 3 at the time. I bought 3 or 4. I bought 4. I got right a few years ago, and I'm on my last one. I used a few already over the years, over past 3.5 years since I got it about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, something like that. I purchased it something like 2022, I believe. We're 2025, going on 2026 already. So, and COVID, I had it in 2020, February. Mid-February, I started feeling sick. Mid-February, I started feeling sick, and I started coughing and all the symptoms. I thought I was gonna die, and then in the next years, I got 3 vaccines, triple vaxxed, and I keep the protocols, but I'm not going to get more vaccines. 3 vaccines is enough for me, you know. 3 vaccines is enough. Why should I get more vaccines? Because if you get 3, then I guess that's enough for those 3, you know. So all those levels where we have now to be, 3 vaccines, I guess that gets it. And those are the 3 vaccines which are concomitant, of course, for us to be in the appellational awareness. So that's it. 3 vaccines is enough. Blue Jays. Watching the game tonight?
Which one?
Well, you have the hat on your head.
The Jays one?
Oh, you have the Jays on your head, eh? How much did you pay the...
It's like 16.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I think they make too much money, man.
Yeah.
I think they make... I saw the guy makes 25 million a year.
Yeah, just from these things.
I think they should give to charity, man.
Yeah.
They make too much money, bro. Too much, man. The truckers, man, they should give to the money to the cooks, man. To the bakers. They should make more money, eh? Bye. But he was funny. He smiled and he passed by, and I said he's got the hat with the Blue Jays, and that's why my cousin there smiled. And I know I'm weird, you know. The conversation is weird, but and I was asking how much he paid for the hat, because he's a Blue Jays hat and I have the hat. So they're both playing tonight, eh? They're both playing tonight, eh? But they make too much. I say the owner, but actually I should say the owners. Owners should give more charity. But the players also, you know, make too much per year. Give some charity, you know. Come on, give some charity to the public workers, to the truckers, man. Give some free tickets now ASAP, or some free tickets starting all seasons from now to the public workers, the butchers, the bakers, those who pick up the garbage, and the electricians, you know. And I think he's going to go get, he's a trucker, because I said the truckers should make more, and he said something, I believe he said, I'm not sure, he said, yeah, that's where I'm going to get on the truck now, something like that. I think those trucks there, so he might be working with the trucks there. He just engaged in conversation, because I passed by him, he had the hat, a Blue Jays hat, and he kind of nodded like that, and he had a red hoodie, and I think I've seen him before. It's hard for me to make friends sometimes, you know, because of this neurodivergence, or to engage in small talk sometimes. Small talk sometimes it can be more difficult for us Aspies, but I guess that's how I gotta engage and make friends and keep friends if I gotta keep friends, and if you don't, that's it, that's all. You gotta not be, of course, on the same page. And I don't like violence in myself. I don't like violence with that. I'm somebody who doesn't like violence, you know. I just don't like violence. But I'm hyper vigilant, you know. I'm hyper vigilant. But yeah, I'm a pretty charitable person. I'm not perfect, you know. I got flaws. I like wafers and sweets and massages, but play it rainbow way, or black, white, or brown, and you know, I'm not frustrated in any way sexually. If I would be, I would discuss it, eh? If I would be, I would discuss it. And it's important, sexual health, you know. Good masturbation and all those things are important for the health. And sexuality is a holiness. You got to channel it. Yeah? I'm sure, you know, there's not even one in the open, eh? I'm sure there's one on the Blue Jays. Yeah, the hat. I'm sure there's one, or even two or three or four. Even at least, I would say at least three on the Blue Jay that are bisexual or gay, homosexuals, and on the other Dodgers as well. There cannot be. Statistically, there must be at least one or two or three. Statistically, because it's about 6-7% millennial population, and Gen Z is 8-9%. Gen Z is a bit more. So most of the players are Gen Z, I believe. Some are millennials, some are Gen Z, right? So statistically, there must be, right? Statistically, it's kind of has to be, right? So now where we have, of course, to be is check these, and of course my back to geopolitics, my sports and fitness. Look at that little spider. We gotta get a lot of that yellow there. Look at those red, and we got some yellows there, and this is nice here. This is really nice. Gotta say that LOV there, and I love it. These yellow just under with the red there, just got my whole day, man. Love you, yellows. Just love this little bouquet there. Isn't it just top notch? Somebody there, just super nice. In the corner, makes you think of the forgotten goddess temple there. Just gotta love it, eh? If you love, that's how we love, and that's how we gotta get on that loving side, man. And that's how we have to be on that drill. And the nurses finishing their 12-hour shifts, you know. That is something where we have to appellate with that, you know. Yeah, man. Gonna get some wafers, that's it, and discuss geopolitics. So of course I have predicted what's happening now back in 2019. I did not predict that the prices, okay, so I predicted there is a possibility of a financial crisis, because of the war though, right? But I did not predict that there's gonna be a deterioration of relations with the United States, So that is new for me, you know. That is new for me, you know. So that is, of course, the correlative aspect of the newness of the situation where we have now. So, of course, all that situational awareness is that we are correlative to the economy of the United States in a way that it is about 3/4, more than 75% of our goods go to the United States. So the fact that we have a trade war now is impeding us from being well positioned, right? So if you check even now let's do a little bit of a coffee prices. Now this is not bad. $4.49. Oh no, that's cinnamon though. Wait, that's okay. So that's only the cinnamon. That's not a hazelnut. Okay, no, that's not the same thing. That's the decaf for that one. Cinnamon is gone pretty much, but the prices of coffee have just increased. So this one is crazy. This one I bought it 3 years ago for $6.99, $15 now, more than it doubled in price. This one it doubled. This one was no name. I bought it for $6.99 3 years ago. This one doubled. It doubled. This one also increased. All of the prices of coffee just went crazy. What is still good about coffee is this one. the instant coffee, this one. I hope it's gonna stay the same price, because this is from Germany. This is from Germany, and this is still a good coffee price at this level. But instant coffee, but not decaf. I'm not gonna get decaf, but this is still good, relatively still good, because it's 150 grams. See, it doesn't say the country of origin, but it says it's product of Germany. So this instant coffee for this price, I gotta say that it is good. I just hope so, because I'm not sure if the price is gonna go up, because the price is right today. I'm gonna actually get one. So because the price is right to get today, I'm gonna get one, but just one, that's it. I'm not gonna get more than that. And this went up, so this is basically why I am here. So for these wafers, right? So for these wafers, that's why we gotta get on that drill with that. So these wafers, I'm gonna get 2 chocolate, well actually I'm gonna get 1 chocolate and 2 hazelnuts. Right? Sometimes I get the reversed. So they're still a good price because they're 175 grams, right? But under the normal circumstances, there you have vanilla if you want. Under the normal circumstances, they're not that. They were $1 2 years ago. Even they were $1. So now they went to $1.50. That's 50% increase. So $1 to 117, and then from 117 139. That was a craze. Of course, the increasing to 150. So that's 50%. So most of these, if you compare with these ones there, those are $3.99, and of course 150 with that to be correlated that they're the same. See, they're the same weight. So they're the same weight, but these are as good. So that's the same weight. See, this is the same weight. That's 175. See, grams. See, that's what it is. See, this one is 175 grams. See, 175 grams, and they're both from Austria. They're both Austrian, right? They're both Austria. So this one and that one is both Austria, see? They're 175 grams. So that's what it is, and both are Austria, see? Austria, the country of Austria, and these are the country of Austria. See, they're correlated, or see? So that's why you gotta be on the left and on the right. No, actually this one are Italy. So these are, correction, they're not Austria, these are Italy. So of course on the Italy, for that is what we gotta get doing on that, to get it left and the right, and in the middle for the consequential appellations, what we have now, to be on the left, and in the spheres, you know, that we contribute. And I feel like getting some chips. Okay, that's the last item. Barbecue for the game. Have the game. That's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna get anything more than that. That's what we're gonna get. Of course, these ones I have. Toothpaste I have toothpaste. Yeah. So we got toothpaste with that. That's what we're gonna get here for the money. Gonna wait, you know. Maybe not. Oh, it takes cash. I'm not sure if it does. It takes cash. Huh? That's only with the bank. Only with the bank, man. Only with the bank. Only with the banks. The banks, man. What's your You want to put your eggs, bro? No, I said you want to put your eggs because
Oh, put it in.
I saw you have the eggs.
Yes.
Just so you don't make an omelet, you know?
No, no, I just rested here, please.
Yeah, no. All this, the eggs are not yours. No.
No, just to make sure we're not going to make an omelet, you know? How much are they? Well, that's good. That's good. These two, these used to be $1.
Yeah.
Now they're $1.50. So that's 50%, you know, from $1. You know? Everything is going up, man.
Yeah, we wanted the race to go up too.
They're raised, eh?
I really don't mind the prices out here.
The salaries of the athletes, they're gonna play with the ball. They're making $25 million a year, eh? It's a big joke if you think about it, eh?
Take out everything.
Think about it, eh? Yeah, it's the system, yeah. You got 25 million a year, you know.
Stress. Let's get up and play ball or do whatever you gotta do, train and go.
7-8 million a year, you know.
Say for 3-4 years I retire. You gotta play for a lifetime.
Yeah.
The other chips and other things.
You think about a nurse, you know, a nurse making $25 an hour. It's not fair. It's not fair, is it?
Nah, not in these days.
Huh?
Not in these times, man.
Not fair, man. A lot of
Politics going on in these streets, man. Politics.
yeah. Things are gonna change, you know. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. You want the phone card?
That's why the big boys keep running the world like that, man.
You take the stamps digital or paper? Stamps one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Digital or the paper?
The paper. This one is for what? That thing?
Yeah.
It just started?
Yeah. Do you have any yet or no? Not yet. Okay, go ahead. I give you some. I give you 3 today.
Hey?
Losing themselves just for that dollar.
This is your stamps. And the booklet, you just put them stickers there.
Yeah. Money's just money at the end, yeah. Nice.
Ma'am, is this your phone?
Oh, this is my
Oh,
phone.
that's yours. Sorry.
No worries. I got a $5 bill that's broken. I don't know if you're gonna take
No,
it.
I'm not gonna take it.
Can you take a look at it? It's just
Wait.
missing the piece here.
No, we won't take that.
No?
No. You have to go to the bank for
Bank?
those things.
Bank, eh?
Yeah, we won't accept that.
Which aren't you guys bringing the money to the bank anyways?
You gotta go to the bank. We're not. What are we gonna do with a ripped $5 bill?
It's just a piece missing.
Yeah, but we can't do anything with that.
I get it, I get it. You're just paid by the hour, I understand.
You gotta go to the bank. I'm sorry, something is out of our control.
Hey, you don't gotta be sorry, it's not your fault, you know? You're not getting paid money anyways,
It's
eh?
not about it's not about that. It's just
How much do you...
Well, do you have a job? Do you work?
I have Asperger's, so I have problems
So
with
if you don't have a
employment.
job, don't talk about my job because you don't even work.
I don't work because I have Asperger's.
That doesn't matter. Don't talk about how much I make and you don't even make a living.
Okay, you're right.
That's true, right? You get government check? That's what you get.
Yeah. So I calculated in my brain, it was going mathematics. So mathematically, as I was calculating, of course, the mathematics of the prices increasing, of course, in the correlations is basically math was functioning in my head, right? Mathematics. So the mathematics are, of course, that these prices are also now on the increase. You know, so everything is increasing. As I said to my friend there, because he had the eggs, and I said, hey, you better put the eggs, because I calculated the velocity of his eggs. He was holding 2 big eggs baskets, 30 eggs each. And of course, all the eggs which were there were, of course, the relationships of the eggs being on the go. So, of course, that eggs were about to burst. So that's why I said, better put them, I guess I did a little bit of Agnes, of kindness, Acts of goodness and kindness are important, So that acts of goodness and kindness to our fellow human beings, regardless of money, because money is to buy, sell, Money is to buy, sell. And with Asperger's is, we're weird, we're 80% unemployment is high for Aspies. But if I ever make it, I'm going to support my fellow Aspies who gave yours truly a little bit of the money. But now I got a donation last year, $25.44. And if you see here, so I got 5. They were refused to take a bill, which was, see, like this bill here. So this bill is a bit ripped. See, look. So it said go to the bank with it, but it's not really that defective, although it's a bit on the rip. See this bill. So this bill was also probably printed emission in 2013. See, 2013. See. So basically, it's the whole bill, but it's just missing this. So basically, it has to be repaired. I guess it's damaged, like I've been damaged, and I guess I'm still rebuilding after my damage, but it's not all about the money. But I'll go to the bank, I guess, whatever. I had enough to pay for what I got, so it's just this. That's why the fellow worker, I hope she get a raise, or he, she, they get a raise, because they deserve it. They've probably been working all day, standing up, and, as compared to those multi-millionaires who are going to make that puck on the stick and that baseball today. So that's what it is with that, and that's what we got, see? All the left and on the right, on the circumstantial position where we got now to be, on those dynamics where we got now. But those are, of course, the loving affairs of the money. So I have to go to the bank with this. Didn't want to accept it, but hey, that's okay. I guess they got policies against. Technically, there might be that they have to accept it anyways, even if it's like that. Maybe not in this way, but it's just money. Money is just money. Money comes and goes. You buy it, you print it at the Federal Reserve or the Bank of Canada. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna disinfect all these. Just gonna disinfect all these. So this is what I do usually with products, because there's bacteria, microbes, and germs. And the workers also have to be well instructed for disinfecting of the hands. See, like put and disinfect some products, because we got bacteria, germs, and microbes. So I'm just gonna disinfect them. I put a little bit too much, but nonetheless, it's just enough for me to make sure that I kill the bacteria and germs, the reciprocity of all these goods that I have now. So these goods are now good to go because they have been disinfected. So the disinfectation is always a process which we must do, because we don't know the bacteria, the germs, the microbes are, of course, all the bacteria and the microbes which we have concomitantly in all the availability of the left and the right and in the middle to do our part as sovereign individual citizens. And as a sovereign individual citizen with Asperger's, who's weird, and sometimes it's hard to engage in conversation and in small talk. Small talk is harder. So I guess we engage by speaking on sports, and of course in my mind was the fact that so many sports athletes were going to play tonight in both the Has Please Give Some Charity and the MLB are going to make some dollars, but of course some of them make a lot of money annually. So my friend there, anonymous acquaintance, said it's of course the system, but of course the system has to be changed by me, by you, by us, by you, by us. And yes, certain people do work extra time and meritoriously. Today, I'm going to march more than all the generals of NATO. Look at those. And for that, I'm going to have a certain pride and accomplishment. It's beautiful, isn't it, Mother Nature? Look at that beautiful, beautiful things here, see? So that is what it is now for the left and for the right, and in the middle and all the side, of course, what we got now. And of course, all the appellations what we got to be construed and to be left and right, and in the middle, of course, it is something which you have to be engaged. And of course, that engagement is, of course, the dynamics of where we have the societal nature of me having calculated the fact that the prices of the salaries have stagnated compared to the fact that most salaries have stagnated, and the fact that the prices keep increasing and the wages are stagnant. See, even the coffee there that I saw, of course, was the concomitantly proposition of the prices being increased to such a degree where it is unparalleled precedence that we have so many strikes. So many strikes correlative of that. So those are, of course, the strikes correlative, and in the middle, of course, of the situation where parallel you have multi-millionaires and billionaires, and we have the athletes who are going to play today in the Blue Jays, and the other ones who are going to make more than 15 million a year, 6 of them in one team. And of course, I bet you that there's at least 1, 2, or 3, or 4 who are LGBTQ. That I can guarantee. That I can guarantee. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind. I have no doubt that there is at least one who's going to be on the field, who's going to be out on the left, on the right, and in the middle concomitantly. So of course now I have to be patient. Yeah, I'm just going to take 3 steps back to make sure that I don't get any fluff in my eyes, you know. So in my mind, in my brain, there was calculations, and the mathematical calculations, of course, of the processing of the cost being increased. So the cost still increasing in the concomitant relationships of all the dynamics where we confident ourselves now to be relatively engaged upon and to be relatively aware that we have to make these changes. And my changes are going to come through, of course, the dynamic of the implementation of my DRT. See here? So 2 cents was covered by the store. If it would have been 12.03, I would have had to pay the 5 cents, and you're gonna give me the $2.93. So see, because we don't have pennies anymore. So this was the cost. 3 wafers for $1.50, right? $1.50, 3 wafers. The chips were $1.50. So, and the other one was $5.79. So this is less than, I spent less. I had a $15 budget, but I kept winning the budget, and I still have $3, but I'm gonna save those $3, maybe buy cans to have for the winter. Tomorrow is the last day for the 99 cents special, because condiments are important to have, you know, and I love to slow cook, so that's gonna be another dimension. But that $5 gonna go to the bank with it, because I understand he didn't want to accept it because it was partly ripped. So it was partly ripped, so gotta go to the bank. Gonna exchange it, trade it at the bank. They will have to accept it because it's part of the rotation and the money supply. How much money supply Canadian dollars are in circulation? How much Canadian dollars are in circulation now? How much US dollars? Right, we're gonna get into that, but first, just to say that coffee that I got is really good for the price, because it's 150 grams and it's a very good quality. I don't know where the coffee beans come from, but the product is from Germany. It's a German product, right? So that's why I bought it. Fundamentally, I bought it because due to the fact that I don't know if the price is going to go up. I don't know. Because for $5.97, it is still a good price today. Right, so today is still a good price, right? Today is still a good price, you know? Today is still a good price. 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 Today is still a good price, you know? That's what it is, you know? Today is still a good price relatively to what we got. Today is still a good price. Good price is, of course, that factual representation. So being that it's still a good price, you know, that's why I got it for 5 something. Because next month it might be 6, it might be 7. So I said I'm gonna have it stacked for winter's coming, you know. So you never know, eh? World War III might start, nuclear war might start, eh? You saw Russia 4 days ago, they put on the market, they tested the Berezvik. The Berezvik travels 14,000 kilometers. It could be nuclear warheads, eh? Now we're vulnerable even. Before we were by the Yars-24, which could travel 8,500 kilometers. So now, the great Russian Federation has showed us that they're not playing around with us. They're really not playing around, you know. They can hit us anywhere in Canada, anywhere in the United States from Russia. The Berezvik, they can hit us. And they solidified their relation with China. They said clearly what they were doing. They ended the US hegemony. They ended the West. They're antagonistic to the West. We might meet and try to get solved there with Putin and Ukraine and do a little bit of left and the right and a little bit of dance there, a little bit of photos. But fundamentally, they said that what they're doing, and that's what they'll continue to do, you know. So back to the price calculation. For the wafers, and of course the chips were on special. 200 grams the chips though, not 150, not 100, not 175, 200 grams. For 150, it's a good deal. It's a good deal, and it's Canadian, so that's what we're gonna munch in. So, gonna munch for that. I never watch baseball, but I'm just curious, you know, because I said so much money they're making per year, and a Canadian team. Well, I'm basically watching because it's a Canadian team, the Blue Jays. But also, I'm pretty amazed to see, you know, the salaries, how much some are making is really bigger than, is more than hockey. More than hockey, right? More than hockey. Way more. Some are making way more than hockey. 7 million, 7, 8, 9 million, you know, it's it's not fair. I don't think it's fair with millionaires and billionaires, and we have to rebalance, you know. We have to rebalance, but fairness comes from when you're in that position with money and wealth and financial privilege to be charitable as much as you can. I believe charities also starts at home. So for me, every million first billion is going to be 50-50 with my anonymous friend with every million and billion. Eh? So I'm going to propose again, you know, because anonymous friend was there with when I was rock bottom, I guess, you know. When I was rock bottom, 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 rock bottom. Yeah. And sometimes with ASPs, we have misunderstandings of communications. It's the way we use linguistics. Sometimes we use academic verbose linguistics that might not be able to be comprehended. So we must sometimes just maybe best not engage too much, you know. Or finishing the engagement after a few minutes. After a few minutes, finishing the engagement, you know? Finishing the engagement. Finishing the engagement thereof. So after a few minutes, finishing the engagement thereof in the proposition what we got now. So of course, all those propositions where we are fundamentally in the relationships where we are and we coexist with each other, that we are gazing at the mountain, seen from afar off, you know, seen from afar off there, gazing at the mountain from afar off. We got to get that appellation, and we got to get those instrumentalities, awareness, and all of the inner state of being where we are, the domains, and we got to get goodness and kindness, you know, to the deserving. Goodness and kindness to the deserving. To the deserving, I guess, you know, and everybody deserves second and third and fourth chances, you know, and everybody second and third and fourth chances, and myself included, and that's why I gotta give people the benefit of the doubt always, benefit of the doubt. So, you know, people need a raise, and we gotta get that N.A.C.W.P, North American Workers' Party, the N.A.C.W.P, the North American Collective Workers' Party, the PPP, and especially the transaction, of course, of the public security forces the public security forces to be correlative thereof, the public security forces and the domain. So now we're going to get back to geopolitics because that's what I know most. But you see, because it's tied in, of course, the prices, living expenses and living wages, and of course living cost of living is tied in with the microeconomics of the individual is at the micro level and the macro level and their interactions thereof, or of course the suppression of the wages and the stagnation of the wages and the growing cost of living is a matter of geopolitics, is a matter of geopolitics. It is a geopolitical matter whether we have transpositioned ourselves to be in the domain, of course, with the plurality and the individual and the multiplex. Whether socioeconomic, there's a fundamental relation with the geopolitical sphere of the world. So back to what I was saying before, I predicted what's happening now back in 2019. Right, in 2019, I have proof because I have the videos online. So I have, of course, the videos online, and of course those videos are correlated in the sphere, of course, in the fact that we have now to be correlative and of course industrious about the work in geopolitics, especially over the past years, especially over the past, of course, since 2017 when I got out of depression, but also my work predates that, and my work with the Canadian security establishment as it relates to national security matters and the creation of the total mobile defense theory, which I can only discuss with P. Hegseth and his High Minister ranking of security as security apparatus of Canada and United States, because it's made to go binationally for binational Canada and United States, the total mobile defense theory. I discussed it a little bit, I introduced it, but I cannot discuss overly in detail because it has national binational security matters, where of course are correlated to all the individuals' relationships thereof, of all our institutions thereof, to serve and to implement Operation Northern Scorpio when we created the Draconis, aka the North American Integrated Imperial SSD Legion for security service and defense, and the assurance of liberty thereof, and of course the parallel complementary covenant and cooperative institutions of the DGA. So the total mobile defense theory, since it's binational security sensitive, I cannot discuss it over much, right? So I can't discuss it over much in that relationship where we got now, of course, to be relative about all the informatics, where we are to be mindful that it is to be discussed with David McGinty and other members of higher-ranking security establishment of NORAD NATO. So that being stated, back to my prediction of 2019, I have predicted an international conflagration. What I did not predict was the re-election of Donald Trump, who's still president, in October 2019. So I predicted an international conflagration. I did not predict that we, Canada and the United States, will have such bad relationships as we have now. So now the following statement in geopolitics, which I'm going to concord, is you have to address and you have to affirm in the positive with a yes. It cannot be negotiated. You cannot say no and you cannot say maybe. So you have to accord it in a proper manner by saying yes. This is so. So for us, Canada, when it comes to with whom do we, which nation state, have to accord to put the principiate for the hierarchical position in the number one place. The country state with which we Canadians have to work to establish the best economic, social, financial, military, security relations with, it is with the United States. And the United States, although you have a border with Mexico, it is with us, Canada, that you must work to establish the best relations with. Now, there's no negotiation with that because of since the fall, diminution of the British Empire after the Second World War has lost the power, and the rise of the United States during the Cold War as the superpower, and finally after the USSR's finalization, and of course the end of the Cold War, which is sharp in 1991, December 26, with the official signing of the perestroika thereof. So now as we march towards the mountain for the Imperial Integrated Complex, signing thereof of the Imperial Democratic Republic to fuse Canada, United States in the Imperial Complex, because the king is absent, my fellow Canadians. Because the king is absent. It's time for the Republic. The king is absent. So of course the king is absent. Now, being that the king is absent, we have, of course, to correlate thereof all the instrumentalities that the absentee of the king. So the king being absent thereof, we have to, well, okay, it's time for the Republic. We should have been a Republic on the 1st of January 2000, the year 2000. 1st of January, the year 2000. So that correlations and correlatives, that we should have been a Republic on the 1st of January, that is just the relation and the relationship which we have to be politically mindful and aware that the king is absent. Now, we, just like I said, the aforementioned statement, we have to accord that with a yes. Our main interest is to establish the best, when it comes to foreign affairs, not domestic. We have to place United States as the number one country, nation, states when it comes to foreign affairs, basically. The United States, although you have a border with Mexico, you have to place Canada first. When it comes, of course, for me it's Canada first, United States second. But when we fuse, we won't have to have that dynamic as we have now. So we're gonna not join necessarily Trump and Trump MAGA, but we're gonna fuse with the American people. That's how I present, that's how I see it. We're gonna fuse, become one, you know. To know strong and free in the land of the free and the home of the brave thereof. So now, of course, the other appellatives, and of course the other relationship where we got now to be relative and integral about all the dynamics, where we are to correlate all these officiatums, is of course, and is the majesty and of course the concomitant representation thereof, that is just like the pi symbol. The pi symbol is always the number 3.1416, which represents the relation between the diameter and the circle. It's always the relation between the diameter and the circumference of the circle, right? The diameter of the circle. So it's always 3.1416, right? It's always 3.1416. So thus, being that it is a constant and not a variable which changes, the constant stay the same, that is just, of course, the relationship what we have now to be correlative. So gotta give some love into the firefighters of the 63, let our empire rise and be. So all, of course, all that domain and the relationships thereof, that's how our coming empire will be. Like that N, which represents that number, which is just to make a parallel of how our dynamics of the geopolitical complexities of the North American collective must be resumed by Canada and the United States working to establish the best cordial economic, social, financial, cultural relations with each other. Look at the NHL, it's not really national, NBA neither, MLB neither, right? It's binational, just like the NHL, National Hockey League, you have Canadian team, US teams, PVHL, Finance Women's Sports Leagues, millionaires, billionaires, Finance Women's Sports Leagues, millionaires, billionaires. So those are the dynamics thereof. So of course, all that congregational representation thereof is that we have, of course, to accord. And in the financial officiatums where we are now, it is the relationship where we have to build the best cordial relations with each other in the dynamics where we have to represent our sphere of collective influence externalized. I don't want to be too academic here, intellectual, because I was deviant a bit towards more academic, scholarly geopolitics, and I want to make it as simple as I can, you know, for it to be more simplified. So that is just the reality for us. We must establish the best economic, social relations with each other, not just because of the history and the culture and the geopolitical complexities, but because of our geography, Canada. That way, we got the Atlantic, it's the east. That way, we got the Pacific, is the west. That way is the west, is the Pacific. The other way is the Atlantic, is the west. So all the correlative influential aspects where we have to be now, of course, is the dynamics where we got, and of course all those appellations, of course, in concomitant to us being now fully aware of that reality, which is not negotiable. You cannot negotiate with that. You cannot negotiate with that, right? It's not something which is to be negotiated with that and to be relegated in all the domains where we have, of course, to relegate all informatics about. You know, that is just what it is, right? That is just our geopolitical realities, right? So fundamentally, we have to direct all our forces to work first and foremost to establish the best, most cordial relations with each other, right? That's just how it is. Then is other countries. So now that I get shivers when I discuss it, now that we Canada are, since August 1st, labeled, deemed as an unusual, an extraordinary threat to the American people by the Trump administration, because of several layers are painted out there in black and white on the official White House where you can go and see yourself. So we're designated as an extraordinary threat, of course, due to the fact, of course, that they have correlated in the aspects that we have the best, that we have those dynamics and the motives given thereof are that we lacked coordination with the law enforcement of the United States in enforcing border security. The border gotta go, and the enforcement of the border and the enforcement, the cooperation. Coordination implies cooperation. When you cooperate, you don't necessarily coordinate. Coordination implies joint action between all law enforcement, such as the RCMP and the FBI, and the fact that the number of fentanyl tripled of crossing the border from 2024 to 2025, and the fact of that lack of coordination with U.S. law enforcement is given thereof. So that is motive. That is a motive. The other motive is, of course, given thereof in black and white, is that the substantial representatives of the dynamical aspects of us becoming a growing fentanyl producing nation state, with black and white is mentioned, the fact of growing super labs in Canada. And just, of course, on the 25th, see, that's part of the Tim Hortons, which half I threw it to the garbage and half I'm going to throw it there, because you can do half. So that is just the relationship. That is just the relationship. So now that fact that we have established together, and the fact that the United States government and the Trump administration has put it there in black and white, that we had lacked we had missed the, or did improper, or whatever the terms, got to check the terms, because I don't like to use terms that are not there. I have to use my words also, you know. But that is the fact that Canada last year, the RCMP, and I say good job, bravo, dismantled the biggest ever drug super lab in history, On the 25th of October 2025, there was a drug super lab ran by transnational organized criminal syndicates, and the RCMP has been warning us since about 2015, and especially since 2021, they had been warning us about a growing transnational criminal syndicate organized groups, and the growing transnational criminal syndicate organized group, which have of course correlated us, of course, for the officiatums that these growing transnational criminal syndicate organized groups have made us vulnerable. And of course, because of the DMAA, and again, good job, well done to the RCMP for last year. That one super lab, they seized enough fentanyl doses to kill the population of Canada twice over. That's why more and more I'm quantifying, labeling this fentanyl as a bioweapon instead of a drug, because it doesn't make sense that it's killing so many people are harmed. Because if you think from a drug dealer perspective, it would be the profit motive, but here there seems to be something else. Now, the DMAA, I'm going to discuss it and link it to what just I just mentioned, the aforementioned. The DMAA theory is not just a theory, it's a protocol, a work tool for NATO member countries, of which Sweden is the last one to have joined. Now, before October 7, 2023, I was advocating, if you check my lectures, for 3 or 4 part lecture series, it was called the Genesis 33 NATO protocol, basically for Israel and Mexico to simultaneously at the same time join. At the same time, NATO. Now, when we discuss geopolitics, it's 100% serious, because that's what I do most, and that's basically where my fundamental work lies, parallel to rock and roll. So geopolitics is super serious. So, but of course, technically now Israel being with the ceasefire, what's going on, but during a state of war, you cannot join NATO, and NATO only invoked Article 5 once. 9/11 was the once and only when not Article 5 of NATO was invoked. When Article 5 of NATO was invoked. Hey? You're going for a jog? Ça va pour faire du jogging? Okay, bye, bonne soirée. That's what it is with that. And so you got a little bit of rock and roll, my cousin there, French-Canadian, and that's all we got with that. And that's how I got to get on that drill with a little cousin there to get it left and on the right, and we got to get it for now to get it on the loving and to get it on the left. You know, he's smiling and laughing. I say, what a weirdo, but that's just what it is, you know, for the left. And that's what my fellow Quebecer, Louis Cyr, you're back. I met Louis Cyr in a past life. Anyways, back to the DMA, the direct military assistance and action. You have to accord it in the protocol where we have now. So the direct military assistance and action is the correlative aspects of our relationships where we have now. So the DMAA, the direct military assistance and action, is relative to NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization member countries, because and due to it is a word tool for NATO. So just like NATO, its motto is Animus in Consuelo Liber. Animus in Consuelo Liber stands for a mind unfettered in deliberation. A mind unfettered in deliberation, right? That is the motto of NATO. So my theory protocol must be applied for NATO member countries thereof. So it's only NATO. The DMAA stands for Direct Military Assistance and Action, and it has a C, consequences. Now there are consequences if we are to take action or to assist. Even as we assisted Ukraine, Ukraine was not part of NATO. Israel neither is not. They're not part of NATO yet. Neither Taiwan. The newest one is Sweden. So there's consequences, and these consequences are, look at Russia, China solidifying their military alliance. They're working together closer than ever. Their alliance is strengthening, expanding BRICS. They're strengthening BRICS. They're strengthening the SCO. So this is a consequence of NATO assistance, and of course one of the other being covert operations and powerful nation states. And China now, after the military parade, and interestingly enough that I didn't even see one black person, man or woman there in the tens of thousands of People's Liberation Army, Army of the People's Republic of China, not even one, eh? I'm gonna have to look again, but in my army, Dragon Army, I won black, white, and rainbow of the North American Collectif, that West NATO side, Army transnational, but of course the DMA has consequences. One of these consequences is the problem with the nation states fundamentally maybe financing trans-syndicate organized groups, and those transnational criminal syndicate organized groups being financed because of our assistance in their wars, which are non-NATO related, and because of that they might take action against us, covert actions such as financing transnational criminal syndicate organized groups and helping them, supporting them, flood our streets with fentanyl. So the DMAA, the direct military assistance or action or assistance, it can be both. It can be that we have taken action as we've taken in Belgrade, in Libya, in Syria, but also assistance as we assisted with. It has to be military though. So here, it's only military. It does not apply to food. It does not apply to other things. It has to be military. So for example, Canada providing munitions, armaments, drones, war equipment, military equipment, caskets and munitions, and of course, armored vehicles, things of that nature. They have to be military related to be used militarily by the adversarial force, to be able to be used militarily by the adversarial force to kill adversarial armies in that genre. So now I'm going to discuss the DRT, the debt refusion theory. The debt refusion theory, we have to implement it for both Canada and the United States because of the four main problems which we have, the majority of citizens. We have these four main problems in both Canada and the United States. The majority of citizens are struggling from growing financial unease, the growing cost of living. Prices are increasing, the stagnation of the salaries, the rents are going up. Even my rent went up, but I can't complain. And of course, the stagnation of the salary, the rents, and the other things which is going up is of course the stagnation of the salaries and the credit card debt. My DRT theory is the solution. You need to explain it and listen very carefully. So here's the DRT debt refusion theory, which integrates in it, inside the DRT is integrated monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. There's Super C, where I go shopping sometimes. See that light? That light comes from Super C, where I go shopping sometimes. I might even go tomorrow because they still have, I think they're 99 cents. It's the last day tomorrow before Thursday changes. So the DRT, inside the DRT is integrated monetary integration theory, MIT, which is the financial theory, which was implemented and integrated into the European Union in the 90s. The European Union, of course, created the international, the ECB, the European Central Bank. They created the European Central Bank, and they issued, of course, a currency called the euro in the 90s. So they destroyed the national central bank, national currency. So my DRT integrates that. So we have to implement it binationally, because it's part of the bipolar strategy for total BDD, benevolent dominance, and the meaningful world peace by the fusing of Canada and the United States into the imperial complex. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt. When you hear the sirens of the police, of the ambulance, of the firefighters, you do 180 to the right, 180 to the left. That's it. Is the full circle, citizen, imperial, citizen protocol, make sure everybody's safe. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, including my $10,000. I don't have a credit card, I have $10,000 debt to the RBC. So I got a $10,000 debt to the RBC. So we're gonna take all the public private debt of all Canadians, we're gonna convert it into US dollars, add it all together, add it with the US public private debt and all the money in circulation. We're gonna create a new currency called the UE, or the imperial dollar. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE, the UE, the UE. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot exchange unit. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The universal exchange unit is going to have the value of the US dollar. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10% thereafter. We're going to do a great census. Canada, United States, we're going to get rid of the border. We're going to reformulate the Constitution of the Imperial Republic for the 21st century. We're going to mass finance healthcare, food security. We're going to fuse the FBI, RCMP. The RCMP and the FBI, we're going to fuse for SSD, total protocols for new 911, Dragon Total Integrated Security Service and Defense protocols, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, for total security, total service, total defense for the plateau of the North American Collective Civilizational Complex, for LOV. And that's what we're going to do for total security, total service, total defense in the implementation concomitant for total the Dragon Army, aka the Imperial Integrated SSD Legion, which we're going to fuse and mobilize 1% of the citizens. We're going to get rid of the border, do a great census, see who's been living here for the past 11 years in Canada, United States, 7, 5, 3.5. If you haven't been convicted of 44 criminal conviction, we're going to give some amnesty. We're going to give some amnesty. We're going to give some amnesty. So we're going to give some amnesty. So that amnesty, which we're going to concomitantly do, relegate, of course, it is the relevancy, of course, of all our dictums. So that appellation, what we're going to do, of course, and we're going to be related thereof in all those concomitant civilizational complexes of where we're going to do are, of course, the relative and the relegations, of course, of doing this great civilizational complex. Right, in the matter that we're going to fuse Canada, United States into the Imperial Integrated Republic. So that Imperial Integrated Republic is going to be concomitant, of course, to all the appellations where we got now. So all the forces will be directed to create this new reality. The public and the private, that's why my brother citizen Scorpio Bill Gates is required. Scorpio Bill Gates and BlackRock and Blackstone are two different financial institutions, but along with my RBC and all the public and the private Canadian and United States financial institutions are going to require to implement the DRT. So all the debt is going to be the initial money supply. We're going to set an all interest rate level, so we're going to be put afterwards at 10%. There's not going to be able to be more than 10% after that. We're going to rebuild the infrastructure, rebuild the buildings, build more hydroelectric dams. We're going to build those 44 mass underground city tunnel structures in case of a nuclear war. In case of a nuclear war, we're going to build the mass tunnel structures thereof, and that's what we're going to do. Integrate, of course, the mass tunnel structures in the concomitant appellation, of course, of where we are now. So, of course, all that to say, in the correlations and the relatives thereof are, of course, that we have now to be relegated for all the domains where we have, of course, the civilizational complex, where we have, of course, these dictums and, of course, these appellation where we got now to be instrumental about and to be careful about all the considerations where we now are concomitant and to rise together in the imperial dynamic with the protocols to be implemented, such as the CIT parallel to the DRT, the citizen integration theory, the DFT, democratic fusion theory, and the DRT, debt refusion theory. So that is the fundamental aspects of the great work which we must go and work together, the implementation of the DRT. We're going to also finance a mass imperial project, the Imperial Tourism Protocol. We're going to finance a mass public-private partnership, imperial tourism, every 4 seasons, spring, winter, autumn, every 4 seasons. We're going to mass finance tourism for all who are 16 and over, 4 days every season, 4 times 4-16, 4 times 4-16, 4 times 4-16. So you can take 4 days, that is 4 nights of lodging, hotel, motel, and with food, housing, and lodging across the 63, because we're going to get Canada, United States fused in the Imperial Democratic Republic. Right, so that's going to be the financing of tourism for general wellness, establishing a strong esprit de corps and strong rejuvenation. Every citizen who's going to be 16 plus is going to be automatically credited 4 nights every 4 times a year, equinox and solstice of every season, spring, winter, autumn, summer, spring, winter, autumn, summer, spring, whatever the case. Every 4 you can accumulate 8, take 8 twice a year, take 16 once a year. Once you get to 40 or 44, 40 or 44, you're gonna have to start using them, use them or lose them, you know? Use them or lose them type of principle. So that principiate and that officiatum is going to be the imperial protocol of the North American Collective, as we're going to get rid of the border fuse, do a great census, an imperial ID. We're going to be novus civis, a mass public-private partnership across all Canada, United States, with all public-private institutions, a mass public-private partnership dream. This imperial for all 16 and over, regardless of all financial status, whether you're neurodivergent or neurotypical, is going to be great for our rejuvenation. 4 days, 4 times a year, food, housing, lodging. You can travel from Quebec to Manitoba. From Manitoba, you can go to Yukon. From Texas, you can go to Seattle, to Ontario, to Nova Scotia, all across the 63, because Canada is now 1, but 13 new states, just like the original 13 by Providence. That's how we're going to get our empire rising together. Pledge your allegiance, to our family, Dragon Army, aka Imperial Integrated Dynasty, and all internal security services and apparatus to oversee this mass imperial project for the greater good, for ourselves and for the others.